Hi, I'm Andrew Rich, and if you're like me, you look at the state of modern wrestling discourse and think, wow, what a cesspool. That's why I'm here to tell you about Music of the Mat Remix. That's right, your favorite wrestling music podcast is back with a new format, where I bring on a guest and we play songs related to wrestling-themed topics. It could be a wrestling reference, a wrestling concept, a wrestling pun, things of that nature. Now you might be saying, Andrew, that is a very, very tenuous connection to pro wrestling on a wrestling podcast network. Is this just an excuse to hang out with your friends and talk about music and ignore the rest of the wrestling landscape? Yes. Yes, it is. So listen to Music of the Mat Remix on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network, available on Apple, Spotify, or your podcast player of choice.
This podcast is a member of the Voices of Wrestling Podcasting Network. Visit voicesofwrestling.com to hear the rest of our great podcasts, as well as show reviews, columns, opinions, and updates across the world of wrestling.
Thank you so much for supporting WWE and NXT and me. You're so sweet.
You are listening to the Flagship Podcast with your hosts, Joe Lanza.
Just like Bill Murray never gets to fuck Andy McDowell, we never get any resolution on anything in this fucking promotion. Not even War Games can end the feud in this company.
Rich Rage.
Every single time she comes out, he goes, I was there to help you. I was trying to help you. You know?
Because again, you have to be a simpleton to enjoy this stuff.
Statistically dumb and statistically poor. We should point that out.
Yeah, you're right. You have to be a simpleton to enjoy this because every time is the same.
And we are live on the Flagship Podcast. I am Rich. He is Joe. Joe, what's happening? How are you?
I see you in the chat room talking about how you have a ham, an extra ham in the refrigerator. Like
Correct.
One of them heat and eat, like with the bone inside. Like
Yes.
that whole
Yeah.
deal.
It's like, so when around Christmas time, if you go, there's like a couple of them. They're usually wrapped in foil. One's like a gold foil. One's like a red foil. One's got, that like mesh around it or whatever. You get like three choices.
Yeah.
I don't know what the brands are. I have no idea. I don't know if there's a big difference between the brands. I just look and I go, yeah, it's fine. I pick that one up. And I go.
They're all on sale now so you get them for like $1 a pound now because it's after Christmas. I just made one this week.
That's fantastic. Yeah. So I got that in the freezer. I bought that. I actually bought it a couple days after Christmas. I bought it like 2 days after Christmas. And now I can't imagine. They got to be like literally like 20 cents at this point, right? They absolutely have to be taking up. Turkeys are a good bet for that too, because the hams at least are a little easier for the grocery stores to keep, because you can do this half, you do the half ham so they can fit in the freezers a little bit more. If you go the day after Thanksgiving to any grocery store, you are walking away with a turkey for nothing, because they're like, get this out of our freezer. We have no room for anything else in our freezer because we have these dumb shit turkeys that nobody wants after this day. So the problem though is nobody really wants turkey after Thanksgiving. Ham, you can do ham all the time. Ham is always good.
Yeah, I had a uncle, he passed away now, but I had an uncle who he would get those hams all the time, and he would make them, but not even for a meal. He would just always have one in the fridge. He called it his snacking ham. So
did this man pass away of a heart attack? I hate to make any assumptions, but how was this man's heart health? Was it good or?
No, yeah. Well, he wasn't a fat guy or anything. He always liked to have one just in the fridge. So when you're grazing the fridge, you just grab a hunk of ham and. That's
it, man. That's living right there.
They're often pre-sliced, because they come pre-sliced.
Yes,
all you do is heat them up.
Yes.
So he would always say, I have to have a snacking ham. It's my snacking ham.
What a life, man.
So, yeah, so very familiar with those hams. I just made one this week. They're great. You buy some hard rolls, right?
Yeah,
The night you make it, you eat it for dinner, like with the slices.
Right. You do the one slice. Maybe you make a potato dish or something with it. So, some sort of, something
some
decent.
side.
Yeah. Maybe a mashed potatoes. Maybe some, cut up potatoes that you make in the air fryer or the convection oven or whatever. Something like that to go with it. Some green beans if you want, mashed potatoes, whatever. And then
stovetop stuffing, nice and fast.
Right. Some generic ass stuff. Yeah, just to get it over with, because you want that meal to get over with. We talked about that with turkey. You just want that first meal to get over with, because you're pressured into eating the ham in a dignified way. Let's put it on a plate. Let's slice it, but then I'm going to eat a half a piece of this thing, maybe a piece of this. That shit's going in the fridge, and tomorrow it's going down. Tomorrow, we're having fun now. We're getting the mustard. We're getting the good rolls, getting a nice crisp slice of lettuce, and now we're after it. Now we're getting after it.
You're more excited about the leftover when you make one of those hams because you get, like I said, the hard rolls.
I think it's just better. I think the juice is kind of
something about it.
Yeah, it's just kind of works better. Yeah.
So I'll go in there to what is now the snacking ham, right? So I'll go in there. When you get the knife, you cut off a couple hunks of it, and what I like to do is put it on a plate and then put a couple slices of cheddar cheese on top. Throw it in the microwave for like 40 seconds.
Little ham and
just
cheese,
to get the cheese melted, and you get the ham. You don't get it hot. You just get it a little warm, okay? And then you stick that on the hard roll. If you got a little bit of that cheap stovetop stuffing left over, you get a little bit of that in the mix. Man, I want to go make one right now, as a matter of fact. You got me all excited.
You could bounce out if you want. I could do a quick little. How far is your nearest grocery store? I could do a quick little segment. Don't.
No, I told you. I made one the other day. I still got the leftovers sitting in there.
Oh, you got okay. So you're good. You're good. You got a leftover. Yeah, you got cheddar cheese.
I'm ready to go. That's what I'm eating when we're done here. I'm all set. Yeah, I got the cheese. I'm all ready.
Got the hard rolls. Okay, you're good to go. Yeah,
I've been eating this ham for 4 days now. Yeah. I've been eating it for 4 days. But I don't keep the snacking ham around like the uncle, but I could see where his mind was with that.
I get that because you know what, and that's actually honestly he's got the better idea there because my grazing snack in the kitchen is like a bag of chips or whatever or some sweet or whatever. You're not a sweets guy, but like I know you're a chip guy. So like what'll end up happening is I walk in like after the podcast I consume like 2,000 calories in the worst possible way. I get up, I go into the kitchen, I just whatever's near, I just go like I just stuff it into my mouth for 10 minutes and then go to sleep, which is the worst possible, most unhealthy thing you could possibly do. But it's 12:30 and whatever. I just got done doing that. But yeah, that would be like I would grab a bag of Doritos or whatever. I'd grab a bag of whatever the fuck. If I just went in there and there's a little snacking ham in there, that's the way to go. That's a healthier way to go about it.
Yeah. A lot of times they come with like that side packet of glaze.
Yes. Yeah,
that you have
glaze.
To, like,
yeah.
Put it on the stove and boil it with the water, and then you dump it over the ham.
What is in that? Can you imagine what's in that shit?
It's like pure sugar, basically. But it's good. You dump it over. It gets inside the little slices. You make sure you split the slices.
Yeah.
Make sure
See,
you get some in there.
I think that's the key with the next day ham. I think that stuff kind of congeals a little bit more and gets in there a little bit more because when you first have it when it's like new and fresh, I don't know if I taste it that much, but then that next day, especially on those edges, man, if you cooked it right and you got a little bit of burnt and a little bit of crustiness on those edges, you're living up high off the hog if I do say so myself. So
I like to go in there with a little knife and cut those crusty edges off and just eat them cold because they're covered in that sugar glaze or whatever. Oh, it's so good. Yeah, so absolutely.
Let's get this done as quick as possible. Let's get this stupid show done as quick as possible. So The Rock, I don't know.
Leftover ham.
I don't know what The Rock's doing. Anyway, done with that. All right, Chris Charlton, he's suspended. All right, we're done with that. I'll get you done. We get this shit done in 25 minutes. We spend too much time. We don't have to. Quick hitter topics.
Got a guy in the chat. I've become a hamsman over the years.
We have I have a poll out there. Surprising results. What's better, ham or turkey? Ham leading 52% though. Turkey 48%. Turkey respecters out there.
Close.
Turkey respecters out there.
Yeah,
I don't think there's any. There's no contest, and I like a leftover a leftover turkey sandwich. My go-to is this. I know you don't like this. A little bit of mayonnaise, a little bit of mustard, nice crisp thing of lettuce. Good piece of bread. That's my go-to. Because some people do like the leftover, sandwich, and you throw the stuffing, and if you got cranberry sauce, you throw it on there. I don't need any more of that stuff. I had it yesterday. I'm good. I'll move on with my life and never eat that stuff again for another year. But I'll do the mayo, mustard, lettuce on a good piece of bread, good roll, whatever you want to say. Good piece of toast, maybe. That's my turkey, and that's okay. That's okay. But that you can have one time, and then you're good on that as well. Because you can't go the next day and do that. The ham, though, that's the gift that keeps on giving. The ham.
The ham's a much better leftover food.
Yes.
To me than the turkey. And again, we're talking about those, 8-pound spiral ham gimmicks that you have to heat up in your oven at like 275 for 4 hours. Those are the kind of hams we're talking about.
Like you probably could eat it. You probably could just unwrap it and eat it if you really wanted to. You probably should eat it up a little bit, but
fully cooked. It can't technically be a ham unless it's fully cooked. You can't call it ham.
Is that true? Is that true?
That's a fact.
Okay.
Yeah. You can't get a raw ham. Like, I think legally to be called ham,
Yeah, it must be
it
heated.
has to be fully cooked. Yeah, you could Google that. I think that's correct from what I remember. But to get a raw ham, you got to go to like a butcher and they'll give you that cut of meat and you can cure it yourself. But that's why, like that.
I see. Because ham in of itself is cured. It's like the butt, isn't it? It's the pig butt, not, right?
Well, this is confusing because butt actually isn't the ass. Butt is the shoulder. Because so the word when you get pork butt, right? That's actually near the shoulder because back in the day it used to come in a barrel that was called a butt. So
how confusing.
So then it becomes confusing because when people say pork butt, they assume it's coming from like the rear of the pig, but that's not true. Okay. It's actually the shoulder. So I always have a bunch of pork butts in the freezer because I'll thaw one out a couple days ahead and then I'll slow roast it for like pulled pork and stuff like that. You know what I mean? And then you slow roast it till it pulls apart, and then you put whatever gimmicks you're gonna put in it, and then you got your barbecue sauce, whatever, and you got pulled pork for the next week, which again is a great leftover food. You just go in the fridge, a bowl of pulled pork, and just slop it on there on a fucking hard roll, heat it up a little, maybe put a couple pickles, right?
Pickles, that's the gimmick there. That's you got to go
great
pickles.
Stuff. But yeah, you can get an uncured ham if you go to like a butcher or a specialty.
Seems like a lot of work. What am I doing?
It's pointless. Just get the damn cured ham.
Yeah, right.
It's
let Smithfield do the work for me or whatever. That's what I think we have. I don't know what brands of cured hams you have by you, but I think we have like Smithfield. And they're all the fucking same. Let them do that work. I don't need to be doing that work. I don't need to be curing my own hams.
Yeah, I'm not even sure. Again, I don't even know if it's legal for like grocery stores to sell raw ham. I think if it says ham, it's just assumed
by its very nature it's been cured in some way, shape, or form.
It's cured, and then you could just eat it, a chunk of it raw. Yeah, you could, if you want to open up that fucking thing and cut the netting and just pick on it raw, it's not going to hurt you.
I think you could, yeah.
All that salt and the fact that it's already cooked and everything, I mean, you'd be all right. But yeah, no, look, you never know what you're going to get here. Ham conversations,
I am talking.
You learn the difference between pork butt and actual
I
pork
learned something
butt,
today.
right?
Look at that. There's got to be several people that listen that have just now learned about that and are Googling, because there's you can always like look up, cuts of pork. I looked. You're right. You're absolutely on the money there. So
it's Boston butt, and it comes from the shoulder. That's what when you buy pork butt, that's what that is. That's that beautiful like pulled pork style meat. Where if you're going to make carnitas or pulled pork or something like that, that's what you're probably what you're going to slow roast. You're going to you could do it in the I do it in the oven. I don't like cooking outside. I'm not a fucking Neanderthal, but people who have like outdoor cooking set, that's what you're going to want to use for that. Boston butt, which again comes from the shoulder, but yeah, pigs. Someone in the chat. Pigs are delicious. They absolutely are. Like I don't want to think about it.
Poor piggies. I know. Yeah.
They are so delicious. Like every part of the fucking pig.
I know. I feel bad because like there's anytime I see like a pig, like there's this zoo. We have this like community zoo in my town, and I'll go and there's a lot of pigs there, and I'll go pet them, and they're very nice. I'm like, I gotta stop eating pigs, and then like the next time bacon's near me, I'm like, damn it.
I know.
Shit.
I know.
Sorry. I have to. It's too good. Damn it. I always tell myself this, and I'm like, damn it.
Yeah. I always have bacon bits in the house because about a couple of years ago, TLB, she brought home like a jar of like bacon bits. Like it cost like $9, the shitty processed ones.
Yeah.
I'm like, what the fuck are you doing? You could buy a whole pound of bacon, Oscar Mayer, for fucking $6.99 and just make your own bacon bits. Yeah. So now I'm on a bacon bit kit. So I always like have a pound of bacon on hand, bake it, chop it myself. The difference is amazing from those processed bacon bits.
Good salad thing too. You're a salad guy. You're a big salad guy. Yeah.
I'm a huge salad guy.
Bacon bits is the way to go.
Gotta get some bacon bits on the salad. It makes all the difference. But you got to make it with real bacon. It's so easy. You just bake it. You can even make the brown sugar bacon. It's very simple. I mean, it's not difficult. You just dip it in the brown sugar. You get it in the oven. You don't want to overdo it though, because then caramelization gets too much, and then it's like it just burns. But and then you can have the brown sugar bacon bits. The possibilities, the things you could do with bacon. Yeah, I'm all excited now. Pigs are just so tasty. Like,
Poor thing. They're so nice. Yeah. Sorry.
A nice animal, but I got to eat you because, once I'm brought up on it, once you're brought up on it, you get a taste for certain meats, right? You can't, I don't add new animals though. That's my thing. Like, oh, try this alligator. I'm like, nah, I've never eaten it. I don't need to get into. I don't need the new I don't need the new animals. I've got the animals I was brought up on, and that's enough for me. I'm not going to be some weirdo like vegan or like any of this. I'm not going to be throwing fucking paint on someone wearing a fur coat. But I'm going to eat the animals I've already been introduced to, and I'm going to stay away from like the animals I've never tried. That's where I draw my line.
Do you think that there's a growing number of people? I don't know if this is actually taking hold or if people are just, by the way, 50-50 on our poll right now. Ham versus turkey is unbelievable. Right dead center in the middle there. There's and again, like I said, I don't know if there's an actual real drive to do this, but there's a lot of people that want us to start eating bugs more and more. Like, oh, good protein. People should eat bugs. Why are people so weird about eating bugs? Like, are you pro bug eating or anti bug eating? I think I don't know if I'm going to do it.
Listen, I don't need to fucking eat bugs.
That's what I'm saying. I'm like, I think I'm good. I don't need to eat the bugs.
All right, got a lot of protein.
You're right. You know what I'm talking about? Those guys that are like, you eat lobsters and those are just bugs of the sea, but then you won't eat a scorpion. And I'm like, no.
Fucking jerk off motion.
You're right. You're right. I won't eat a scorpion. Yeah, right.
Yeah, exactly. It's
correct.
No, lobsters.
Correct. I don't want to eat grasshoppers. You're right. I don't want to eat a grasshopper. Yeah. I will instead
lobster's
eat crab.
Fucking delicious. You can have your bugs. I'll stick with my lobster.
Stick with your bugs. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to hear it. Yeah,
if you want to eat praying mantis, knock yourself out, man. I don't care. I'm not against it. You knock yourself out. I don't care, but I'm good. So
you can dip them in chocolate. No, you can.
Yeah, you do it.
I'm not curious in the least. Like I don't want to eat bugs. This isn't Fear Factor. I'm not trying to win.
Yeah, Joe Rogan's not yelling at me, thankfully.
No. Yeah, so I had no interest in eating bugs. So, and you're not going to talk me into it. And no, that's not going to happen. I eat what I eat. I'm just not adding new shit to the rotation. But what I'm currently eating, I'm going to keep eating.
It's a good way to go. Yeah. Anyway. Suppose we have to talk wrestling at some point here today. But we do actually have a decent amount of wrestling to discuss today. Not necessarily like match by match shows. We did a lot of that over the last couple of days. We'll recap everything that we did, Joe and I, over the last couple of days in terms of New Japan and WWE. But we are going to touch on Raw on Netflix, the ratings for the first show on Netflix, a little bit of the analysis and the fallout of that show as well, because there were several things that I guess got followed up a little bit on NXT. So at least worth discussing Raw on Netflix again. We're not going to go match by match review the show because we did that on Instant Reaction Live, $10 tier, flagship patreon.com, a show that has gotten rave reviews from our listeners. Things got real goofy and real wild, but some people called it the best show that we have ever done, and I had a lot of fun too. So I would not dispute that it is one of the best shows that we've ever done. The Instant Reaction Live for Raw's Netflix debut, that is available again, as I said, on the $10 tier at flagship patreon.com. So again, we will talk a little bit about Raw and Netflix, but not necessarily break down the show in totality as well. Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty, we did instant reaction lives after both of those shows. So recaps of the entire show hours or minutes after the shows went off the air for both Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty from the Tokyo Dome. But I do have some fallout about those shows, a little bit more in the world of New Japan Pro Wrestling as well, with the New Year, New Year Dash results. A little bit about what's coming up in Battle in the Valley, which is this weekend, by the way. New Japan's Battle in the Valley seems so quick already to get back at it, but they're there for Battle in the Valley this weekend. And we do have the New Beginning in Osaka lineup as well, so that will be worth touching on. And also the Chris Charlton suspension, some new details coming out, or some clarifications, or at least conflicting reports, I should say. Maybe the opposite of clarifications out there regarding the Chris Charlton suspension. Joe, I can't believe we have to do this, but I think it's time to do it. A quick look at WrestleMania Weekend. Yes, it'll be here before you know it. And some interesting notes dropped this week with mostly the collective coming up with their shows and a few surprising shows that are now joining the collective this year at WrestleMania Weekend in Las Vegas. So we'll touch on everything that's happening so far, everything that's been announced so far for WrestleMania Weekend. All Japan Pro Wrestling had their Korakuen Hall show on the 3rd. I watched a couple of the matches from that show, so I wanted to tell you a little bit about them. Recommended matches I think that everybody listening should go out of their way to check out for sure on that show, which honestly I thought was better than the show we reviewed last week, the 12/31 show. This New Year War show from January 3rd was better than that show by far, like leaps and bounds better than the December 31st show that we reviewed last week. And then some other bits and pieces here that we might go through, year-end lists as people start kind of putting their awards together. Match of the year, Voice of Wrestling Match of the Year ballots dropped today, by the way, so those are getting out and about and starting to see some of the results from that already. So plenty of stuff going on in the world of wrestling. Let's probably start, though, with the Raw on Netflix. And as I said, we did a review of that behind the paywall. $10 tier, flagshippatreon.com. So if you want an extensive breakdown of every celebrity and every little fucking thing that happened on that entire show, you can do that at the $10 tier, flagshippatreon.com. But what I really want to talk about here...
And not only that, but you'll get the Wrestle Kingdom IRL, you'll get the Wrestle Dynasty IRL, you'll get the World's End instant reaction, not live. And of course, you'll get everything else that we've done ever on the 10. If you get the $10 tier, you get everything we've ever done and everything we ever will do. Price raises pending behind that paywall. So it's a good time to get on that $10 tier because there's a ton of $10 content, including some written content that's back there. And of course, 2 weeks ago when we didn't do a flagship, there was just just tons of content every day that we did behind the paywall during Christmas week that you get access to also. So yeah, not just this Netflix Raw review, which like Rich said, people are saying it's a great one and was hilarious and all that. I felt like when we were doing it, it was a fun review, a train wreck, of course. But people like that shit. So it's getting ton. I saw, I think on the Observer board where I lurk from time to time, we have a thread on the Observer board.
Uh-oh.
Did you know that, Rich? Did you know we have a thread?
I didn't. I don't like knowing that. But how's it going?
No, it's all
good?
just
Mostly
listeners.
Okay.
Yeah, it's all listeners. Yeah, it's all listeners. But yeah, there some people popped in there to say how funny that Raw review was as well on the Observer board. So yeah, everyone should try to pop on that $10 tier if you've been thinking about it. If you're someone who's a free subscriber, this is probably a good time to get on there. All right, commercial's over. Let's do it.
Let's get to some fucking action here. Yeah, let's talk about Raw on Netflix. So through Wednesday night, we had not heard much about the rating or the performance of Raw's debut on Netflix. That did change a bit Thursday morning, though. WWE sent a release out that Raw received 4.9 million live plus one views globally. I will read from the press release right here. Netflix and WWE, part of TKO Group Holdings today, announced that the debut episode of Raw on Netflix got off to a strong start with the Monday night program capturing 4.9 million live plus one views. We'll talk about what that means in a second. Globally, the inaugural event on Netflix averaged 2.6 million households in the U.S., according to Video Amp, which is 116% higher than Raw's average 2024 U.S. audience of 1.2 million households, and higher than any Monday Night Raw broadcast in the last 5 years. The event also more than doubled the audience 18 to 49 versus last year. Now, views per this Video Amp service, views are the total view hours for the program divided by the runtime. Okay? Views are the total view hours for the program divided by runtime, and the globally part does not include the 92 countries or territories where Netflix doesn't yet distribute WWE, which includes France, Germany, India, Italy, Japan, the Philippines, and South Korea. So, all right. First off, 4.9 million live plus one views globally. What did you make of that number when you first saw it?
It struck me as a little low for... we've seen stuff on Netflix that does significantly higher numbers than that, and this obviously had a huge media push. Now, it doesn't include the 92 countries where Netflix doesn't have the rights to distribute, so you have to take that into account. And there's some pretty big hitters in there. India, okay, that's over 1 billion people. Japan, France, Germany, South Korea. So some big countries that aren't included in that data. I'm more interested in the U.S. data. So there were 2.6 million U.S. households, okay? So that extrapolates to about 3.4 million viewers if you're going to use the viewers per household data that has been reported by people like Dave Meltzer, Brandon Thurston when it comes to Monday Night Raw. So when you look at it that way, let's call it 3.4. Okay, if you do 1.3 viewers per household, it'd come a shade under 3.4. Some people estimate it as 1.4 viewers per household. So let's just call it 3.4 million viewers in the U.S. That's not a super impressive number. That's less than what the SmackDown debut did on Raw several years ago when they brought The Rock out. And we know that these things, through history shows start at their highest point and then go down from there. And this is also 2.6 million households live, plus this wasn't strictly that watched live.
Right.
This was in the first 24 hours, I believe.
Right, live plus, I forget exactly what they call that metric, but yeah, live plus, VOD.
Till midnight the next night.
Till midnight
is how I
Pacific,
saw it.
the next night.
So Samba TV, which is a different measurement, Video Amp is who provided these numbers. Samba TV actually had numbers the day before, and they had their estimates of the live viewership only, and they estimated 664,000 U.S. households were watching live, which if you extrapolated that using the 1.3 or let's go with the 1.3 viewers per household, that would come out to, let's call it 875,000 people in America who were watching live. Now, Samba TV, their estimates for last year's Raw, same week, year over year, that aired on USA, was 752,000 households. Okay, so if we use the same math on that, it comes out to less than 1 million viewers. So Samba's TV's estimates are a little lower than Nielsen's estimates.
Yeah.
So
and it should be noted that Samba does not have, they have agreements with, because they measure smart TVs. So on your smart TV, there were a certain number of people that have the Samba TV app either integrated with their TV, or
23 different brands,
or they've opted in. Now, if you look at some of those brands, there are major brands missing. LG is missing.
Yes.
Missing. Samsung's missing. A couple other ones that you probably have in your home right now are missing. Now they do have Sony, and they had a couple other ones, and TCL, and a couple of the other ones that are
they're
pretty.
missing some big boys. There's no doubt about it.
They're missing some big boys for sure. So they're extrapolating without exactly knowing what the kind of those bigger TV, smart TV brands would be viewing. So that probably explains why they're a little bit soft in some of those estimates.
Well, I got to tell you, their estimate for the people watching live doesn't seem that far off now that we have the estimate for the people who watched in the first 24 hours.
True.
I mean, households rather. Mm-hmm. I mean, it makes sense to me that the number of, let's just bump it up a little. Okay, so let's bump it up by, even if you wanted to bump that up by 20%. Okay. So that would be in 664. That'd be about 132, right? Oh, you don't do math.
Yeah, you're asking me math now. Get out of here.
So,
Just do it in your head. Work on it on your own without asking me. That's probably the best way to do it.
Even if we bump it up, say 20%, that'd be 800,000 households that watch live, which would equal a little over 1 million viewers that watch live, which would still put it slightly down from the total number of viewers they're doing on USA. Which, Rich, that tracks.
Yeah.
Because there's always slightly less people who watch these things on streaming than do on network still. So I feel like the Samba TV numbers, if you understand what you're talking about and you account for the fact that they're not on every major brand and you give them the 20% bump, actually line up with the numbers that were reported by Video Amp for the first 24 hours. Mm-hmm. So I think to me, it kind of, I was holding those Samba TV numbers at arm's length, but they line up with the new data that we got today. So, the bottom line is 3.4 million viewers, and you figure they're going to go down from there. We see where it settles, but if it follows the same trends as SmackDown and the first Dynamite and the first Rampage, which actually that was CM Punk's debut, we set that aside. To me, I was expecting, look, the silence was deafening when it took about 2 days or 3 days for them to say anything. And I think that says it all. Okay. If they felt like they had blowaway numbers, incredible numbers, we would have had them almost instantly like we did for the Jake Paul fight, like we do for the NFL games that are on Netflix, and we didn't. It took 3 days for them to get their house in order and put out what, to me, are very lukewarm figures. That's my take. What'd you think?
No, so initially when I saw those numbers, I said, "Oh, that's pretty good." Nearly 5 million people globally, and then it took me a little while to really hone in on those numbers and look at historical trends and look at it. And my ultimate conclusion was, actually, this number's kind of bad. And the reason why, and one thing that you mentioned, and that's, I wrote a piece behind the paywall on Wednesday, like saying we know this number's not good because we haven't heard anything about it. So we know it's not a good number, right? If it was a good or a great number, we would have heard already. Because when the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight was over, about 5 or 6 hours later, the PR blitz began with, here's how many people watched it. Now, that was also coordinated, too, because they wanted to kind of get past the idea that the stream was a fucking disaster and nobody could watch it. So it made sense. It behooved them to go immediately out there and say, whoa, look how many people watch it, look how many people watch it. So that was out everywhere. So within a day, the PR blitz had, this is the amount of millions of people that were watching it, and not necessarily hey, nobody could watch it because the stream didn't work. And that was smart. That was smart by Netflix, and they had those numbers right away. The NFL, on Christmas Day, it was the next morning by 7 a.m. It was already all out there that, okay, these games average ungodly numbers. Here's the numbers. And so we know that Netflix is willing and ready and able to just get a blitz going right away if a number's good. And we know WWE does that too. We study WWE PR like nobody else does. So when we didn't get anything on Tuesday, and then we didn't get anything on Wednesday, is when I said, okay, now we know at the very least this number is not great. We don't know if it's good or bad, but we know it's not a great number. Right. If it was a great number, they would have said something. They would have said something. And they did that when the CW, and I even in that piece linked to when they debuted on the CW and it had good numbers. Boom, right there the next day. When they debuted on this, it had great numbers. Boom, the next day. You know what I mean? Like this is what they do. So when we didn't hear anything,
look at the NXT with The Rock the next day.
Right. Oh, that shit was out this morning. Yeah, the deadline articles and Variety and all these things all about it. So when we knew that the PR blitz hadn't began, it was like, okay, why not? And then they got this release that came out on Thursday, and I went, oh, okay, those are decent. Those are good. But then when I started to look at it a little bit more, I realized those are really not that good of numbers. And the big reason why is, in a vacuum, if this was WWE debuting on NBC, let's say they moved to NBC proper for Raw or whatever, okay, then we could say, oh, okay, cool. They moved to cable. They got this amount of people. Okay, like we did with the Fox deal, like exactly the same show that we did when SmackDown went to Fox, and we went, well, okay, they had 4 million or whatever. Okay, that's good, but they're probably going to go down. And we had those discussions, but that's a good number, but not a great number. And we were one of the only people, the only shows I remember really sticking our necks out and saying that's not a good number. By the way, everybody says this is a really good number for them on Fox, but it's really not that good of a number because we know they're just going to plummet downward after this. What really, though,
they basically started where Fox wanted to be leveled off at. Exactly
right. So we said, guys, if you follow the sports TV business, Fox has much higher hopes in this show than 4 million every single week. They want to be leveled at 4 million per week, and you start at 4 million per week with The Rock and Cena and Taker and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. So that was the first kind of ominous sign about the Fox deal. So that's where I say this: if you look at this number in this press release in a vacuum, you might go, oh, you know what? That's actually a decent number. Oh, that's okay. The problem though is, and this is where I now come at it with, this is a bad number, is because we were sold, and WWE sold this to everybody as well. This is not just us. This is not just us, doing our own headcanon. WWE sold this. Netflix sold this as a brand new revolution in the way that people can watch Raw. This is a new way that people can watch WWE. For the first time ever, Raw will be available to everybody live on Netflix. No more, no more tape delay for this country, or this country gets it tomorrow, or this country gets it on Wednesday, or no. Everybody can watch it on Netflix at the same time, live on Monday night. Boom. That was the selling point. Was this, and it's accessible. You don't need cable. You don't need this. You don't need that. You need Netflix, and everybody has Netflix. So it's going to be so much easier. And there's going to be people that have never engaged with WWE that are going to wake up one day and hit their Netflix app and go, "Whoa, wrestling! I'm going to watch this. What's going on here?" There's going to be people that haven't watched wrestling in decades, and they're going to say, "Whoa, wrestling is on Netflix. I got to watch this." That was the bill of goods that we were sold to everybody. And what ended up happening was people that have already engaged with wrestling checked it out. Some of them might stay, some of them might not, but ultimately it's kind of a number like we always get when they have these big debuts where they put everybody on there. You get some cursory views, you get some people that check in, lapsed fans that check in, maybe a little buzz goes around or whatever, but we were sold this bill of goods that this was going to be a brand new revolution for how people are going to consume WWE content, and largely they got their same fans with a little bit of lapsed fans, and we know by week 2, week 3, week 4 that it's going to be back to just the people that were watching in USA are not going to be watching it on Netflix. So that's where I go with this number. The idea was that it was going to be it's going to change how people find and consume and do all this stuff with WWE, but it didn't. You know what I mean? The same people that were going to watch it if it was on Fox or NBC or USA or whatever just watched it. And now we see. Now it's like, okay, where does this number settle to moving forward? Where does this go? That is where I'm like a little bit surprised that the number is not higher. I don't know what I thought the number was going to be, but the fact that it doesn't seem like you gained any of those new fans. You didn't gain those super casual fans. You didn't gain the fans that have no idea about wrestling or all this sort of stuff. You know what I mean? Like that, they didn't gain any of those fans. They kind of got the same core group of people.
I said the same thing the week before with AEW on Max. I don't buy the idea that these deals are going to produce that, at least not at first. I don't know why, if you didn't care about wrestling before, you're all of a sudden going to
people have this idea
click on AEW Dynamite on Max.
Yeah,
why would you do that?
Right. People have this idea that wrestling, like people will watch wrestling if it's just easier to watch it. And it's like, no, people will watch wrestling if it's good and if they want to watch it. Like the ability to watch it has not made wrestling more popular. You know what I mean? Like it's you're going to watch wrestling because you want to watch wrestling. People will find a way to watch the NFL because they want to watch the NFL. You know what I mean? Like that the NFL is the one where no matter what they fucking do, their fans will follow them anywhere to go find them, and they will get new fans for accessibility. I know on Netflix you could see those numbers. There were a lot of people that had Netflix and said, it's Christmas Day, let's put on this NFL game. That didn't happen with wrestling. It happened with the Jake Paul Mike Tyson fight. You had a lot of new people that probably don't watch boxing. We know for a fact a lot of people that never watch boxing and never engage with boxing. But it was Mike Tyson. That's a name that everybody knows.
Mike Tyson.
It was Jake Paul. That's a name that a lot of people know. It was on Netflix. It was the first. They did a really good job of getting a lot of non-boxing fans to watch it. You talked about how your wife was like, "Hey, let's watch boxing."
Yeah.
Now I don't know. Has that held on? Is she still she watching Friday Night Fights on ESPN? Do they even do that anymore? I don't even know if they do.
She wants to watch more. She wants to watch more boxing. Yeah, I think that. Look. I don't have any doubt that it being so prominent on Netflix's front page would lead people to maybe out of curiosity click it and watch it for a few minutes or a few seconds. But the way that Video Amp measured this, they measured it in a similar way that Nielsen measures viewership. So they didn't even bother putting out those fake. Netflix could have put out a fake number and accounted for every time the stream was clicked and said, 47 million views of the stream. They didn't even bother doing that.
Yeah, or what they could have done is when you opened up Netflix, it like auto plays or whatever, and then you have to click out to, then that would have been perfect.
I was fully I was fully expecting that, and I was fully expecting either WBD or AEW to do that for the Max debut. And we've still heard nothing from them, which tells you that nobody watched it. Because, I know Tony Khan tried to nip that in the bud at the World's End presser when someone asked, and he said WBD doesn't plan on sharing numbers with me. First of all, I don't. First of all, I don't believe him.
If that's true.
Okay, yeah. First of all, I don't believe him. Let's get that out of the way. Number two, that's just so people stop asking him. Okay, that's why he's saying that. He doesn't want you to ask him anymore. But if those numbers were some kind of incredible numbers worth touting, they'd be touted. That's the point here. Just like if these numbers were incredible and worth touting, it wouldn't have taken 2 days to come up with, a press release that jazzed them up enough to where it at least fooled stupid people into thinking they were bigger than they thought. Speaking of stupid people, I'm going to read you a tweet from Eric Bischoff.
Oh, no.
Now, this should really close the door on anybody taking him seriously as any kind of business analyst. This man, if this doesn't prove he knows nothing about both
Joe,
pro wrestling and about the television business, then nothing will. And you're just never going to understand. This man knows nothing.
But wait a minute, Joe, he beat Vince McMahon for 83 weeks, 25 years ago. Are you sure? Are you really going to say that this man doesn't know the TV business?
Actually, I'm even more puzzled than ever how, because he doesn't understand how ratings work. Because are you ready for this?
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, what do you got?
So he quote tweets somebody, it's not important, just someone with the stock facts, someone who had it may have been it's Raj Giri, okay?
Perfect.
But that's not the important part, because that doesn't matter. It's just the press release.
Okay.
It's just like Raj didn't say anything stupid. Raj just put the press release with like his own, with the facts, and then he just put some facts. And so Bischoff quote tweets this, and this is his exact tweet, which 90% of our listeners will instantly identify as fucking horseshit. And they're just people who follow the business. They're not anyone who purports themselves to be experts in this stuff. Okay? Here's what Bischoff said. Quote, And according to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, there are 2.5 persons per household. That means approximately 6 million plus viewers in the U.S. alone. Nielsen reports total viewers, not households. Apples to apples. This is incredible. End quote. In other words, Eric Bischoff thinks that every household that watched Raw on Netflix in that 24-hour period, that every single person in every household were among the people who were watching Raw, and over 6 million people watched Raw on Netflix. This is someone who has worked in television for decades, and this is someone who worked in pro wrestling for decades, and this is a person who has made it his entire identity that he beat another company in ratings, and he does not understand them. He thinks if a household watched that that grandma, the toddlers, the babies, everyone in the fucking house, the Cocker Spaniel, the whole gang gathered around the TV to watch fucking Monday Night Raw the other night, to the tune of over 6 million people. And then later on, someone explains to him that the typical multiplier for Raw is 1.2 to 1.5 people per household. And then he's like quote tweeting them saying, just curious, where do these numbers come from? He doesn't know anything.
Told.
We're two idiots on a podcast. We know he doesn't know anything.
Right, and I didn't work in the business, and I don't. Every time I say something, somebody doesn't come to white knight me and say, "I think Eric knows. He worked in the business." No. What are you talking? Where would you ever get the idea that every member of every house, if a household is watching a television show, that doesn't mean, especially in 2024, 2025, that every member of the household is also engaged on the same program? This isn't 1966. You know what I mean? It's not like, all right, kids, we're done with dinner. You know, every family comes home, the stay-at-home mom cooks the dinner, puts it on the table, they pass around the dinner rolls as they discuss the day's events, and then after dinner they go, can we watch the TV? And they go, sure. And then they go,
they turn on the honeymooners broadcasting kinescope.
Right. Yeah, they turn on the TV and go.
Yeah. Okay, and then he retweets this dolt. It doesn't matter. It's just a rando.
2.5 households.
But listen, it gets better. It gets better.
Because then he thinks he's smart too, which is so. Oh my god, go on, yeah.
Listen, it gets better. He retweets this from a rando. In other words, he's endorsing it. Right? Quote: this one's the best. Quote: at least 72% of Netflix households have more than one user, and 24% have at least 4 users. Based on this estimated number of people who watch the show is actually approximately 6.34 million. So this person thinks that every person in the house who has a like the users on the Netflix thing, like when you turn it, like every single person in every single household that watched Netflix, every single person in those households watched, and he thinks 6.34 million people were watching, and Eric endorsed that. He agrees with that.
I don't know about you. My Netflix, which I share with in-laws, has like 5 users on there, and I assure you, one of those 5 users was watching Raw, and it was me and only me. I promise that.
Wrong, Rich. Every time somebody watches anything on Netflix, all 5 users are watching. Everyone knows that. Everybody knows that. When you turn on Squid Game, the whole family is in the room with you.
Yeah.
Anything you watch on Netflix, anything, if you're our pal Tim Dog watching Korean soap operas,
I'm watching
the
too.
whole family is gathering around watching. Yeah. He knows nothing. He doesn't know anything. Okay? He is an audience of dolts, and he knows it. Because then, like you say, his audience. Well, yeah, that's because he worked. I'm going to listen to someone who worked in the business. Well, he doesn't know anything.
Right.
How does he not know that? His whole personality was, I beat Vince for 80, however many weeks.
83 weeks. 83.
And yet he doesn't know how it works. So this should be like the end of him. If there was anyone left who's smart, who still thought Eric had any fraction of a clue, this needs to end it. It's over today. The guy knows nothing.
Everybody in the house. I just love the idea of the platonic family in 2025 going, all right, kids, Raw's on Netflix.
Atomic family.
What did I say? Platonic?
The platonic family. Rich is shouting out all those families where the parents don't fuck anymore. The platonic families.
Yes.
The platonic families. So,
but I just love the idea that it's like, everyone's done, the one daughter and the one son are finishing, cleaning the dishes and drying them or whatever. The dad goes, kids, get in here. Raw's starting. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Jump onto the carpet, grab a pillow. The daughter grabs a pillow to lay on, and they all.
The whole point of those Netflix profiles is so you don't have to watch the same thing.
Right. What's the whole fucking principle of it is that exactly what's going to happen after that is no one's going to be there at the dinner table. Everyone's going to be fighting with each other, looking at their phones. The brother is going to grab his food and go to his room and watch fucking Squid Game. The daughter's going to go into her room and watch whatever the fuck she's going to watch. Dad's just going to scroll on his phone, and the mom's going to watch, whatever the fuck.
The whole point,
The Bachelor, whatever the fuck,
is I can be in one room watching fucking Raw, and my wife's in the other room watching Love Island 6 from fucking
Right.
Isle of Man or whatever.
Right.
Is that
where
the
it's
whole
from?
point?
Is that where Love Island is this year? Isle of Man?
I don't know. Maybe. Sure.
That would be
sure.
That'd be cool. Isle of Man guy.
We
Good
need
for him.
we need to have a chat. We need to have a chat over and over. That's what everyone on that show, that demented fucking show, Love Island, where they're all double crossing and fucking each other and everything. And then the women say, we need to have a chat. And then they go fight with each other and bicker over these, that and Fuckboy Island. Like they're all the same thing. It's just ridiculously hot people expected to remain loyal, like all that are like 22 years old, right?
And very unclothed.
And
I've never watched the
Right.
show, but I see the thumbnails and I'm like, God damn, those are some very unclothed women in that thumbnail there.
Yes.
I should watch that show. I never do.
We need to have a chat. All right. So there's going to be awful analysis like from people like Bischoff who have no idea what the fuck he's talking about. What's funny is how he doesn't know what he's talking about is like Raj didn't co-sign him at all because Raj knows that like Bischoff doesn't know anything. You know what I mean? Like Raj probably read that and was like, "Oh, Eric, that was really dumb."
Eric, not everybody in the household is watching. I just love extrapolating the number. Well, 2.5 people in every household. They had 6 million people to watch the show. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Utterly ridiculous. Yeah. So I mean, look, I'm not surprised that like the 3.4 million that we're going with here would. It's like. Look, there was a heavy media blitz, and I think a lot of wrestling fans who normally don't watch Raw watched. I mean, we watched. You don't watch Raw every week,
right?
So, and that's same thing with the SmackDown debut on Fox and everything else. So, that number will surely come down. The thing about Netflix is, and this is why I really do buy the Samba TV numbers is I think less people than ever will watch Raw as it's happening because they know with Netflix it's there and they could just go watch it at their convenience because they're used to watching things on Netflix at their convenience, right? So I do think the real-time live numbers will be lower than usual, than whatever they were on USA.
But that's a bad transaction for Netflix though, because the reason Netflix is paying X amount of million per dollars and investing in live sports is because they want you to watch it live. They want you to
but
engage.
It's still 750,000 people that are going to watch live that wouldn't have been.
Sure, but the whole
US
game
alone.
The whole game is live and ads, because that's the other thing too, is that I believe, and I don't know, I think a couple people have said this. I haven't tried it. I don't know about you if you tried it. I believe if you go in to watch Raw right now, you do not get the ads. If you're on the non-ad tier, which I am, I got ads while I was watching it on, because I'm on the non-tier. I'm on whatever the highest tier is that you don't get ads or whatever. So I got ads during the show. You did as well, correct?
Yeah. Can we talk about this? Because I'm definitely on the highest tier because I pay about $47
No,
a month.
I'm looking at it right now. I'm on the highest tier.
And I was getting the commercials, and yet other people were saying they were just getting a blank screen and not getting the commercials. I don't know what the fuck. Maybe it was week one confusion or something, but I don't think we were supposed to be getting ads. We were supposed to be getting whatever was going on. Like on Peacock, if you're on Peacock,
I think we were supposed to get ads. No, I think that the whole goal is that we're supposed to get ads. The whole goal
but there were other people saying that they were getting stuff from the building that the ad people weren't getting, like interviews and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So what the fuck is that? Like, I see what you're saying. Like they're gonna force everybody the ads, because I got a little message when I put it on that said whatever it said. I'm sure you got the same one. It said, your price tier includes certain live shows that include ads. Like
Correct.
they were telling me, you got that too, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yep, same
So
wording.
there's other people for whatever reason, okay, were claiming that while we were watching ads, they were watching Interview Robot number 3, Interview the New Day, or whatever the fuck. So what the fuck's happening with that?
Now I know
don't
that international internet, but people are telling us in the chat room international fans didn't get ads. Yes, but I know there were certain people in the U.S. telling us they were not getting those ads. So I don't know if those signals got crossed or something like that. But every U.S. viewer should have gotten the ads.
Think it was? You know what I think it was?
Little VPNs,
People pirating.
little VPN boys. Yeah,
They were watching the Netflix stream, a pirated version of the Netflix stream, and the pirated stream they were getting was the international feed.
correct. Maybe.
So they kind of outed themselves the same way that people outed themselves when Tomohiro Ishii came out for that G1 from Mama Said Knock You Out, which was a Tamiya Wu overdub. And you had a bunch of people going, what? Did they change Ishii's song? You're like, you're pirating it. You outed yourself. And some of them were media people. I'm not going to say who they were. I remember. But I'm not going to say who they were. I'm friends with one of them, so I'm not going to out them. But, fans, who cares? But these were media people who, you would think would have paid for it, But, yeah, I think that was just people who used – it had to be people who were pirating, who were outing themselves.
Yeah, or some maybe weird, maybe a weird glitch where you got stuck in some space-time continuum where you thought you were in the UK or something. I don't know. But, yeah, in the U.S., you're supposed to, no matter what, when you're watching live, get those ads, even if you're on the highest price tier. But I don't believe that's the case if you're watching on demand. So now if I'm a regular viewer of Raw and I know that I can watch it the next day with no ads, I'm probably going to watch it the next day with no ads, but that's not the gambit that Netflix wants. Netflix is not getting into the live sports business because they want to get more subscribers. That's not the key. Netflix knows they're going to get subscribers. Netflix knows that, I guess in one breath they want like less churn, and maybe you get less churn with live sports and people stick with it a little bit more. But the goal is let's have more live sports so that people watch live and we can sell ads against those. That's the goal of Netflix's live sports. Is we don't want people watching the next day. We don't want people watching later that week. We want DVR proof, quote unquote. That used to be the term forever. And now, it's kind of losing its relevancy as cable's going away. But we want DVR proof live viewing. We want sports is that way. You don't want to watch sports the next day because it's going to be lost. You're not going to be a part of the conversation. You want to be a part of that game live while it's happening. So we know we have you and we know you're hooked and we know now we're going to serve you ads right now. And especially on these streaming platforms, you can't go anywhere. So what you're going to do is you have to watch this show live, and we're going to give you those ads, and that's where they're making their money. That's why they're investing in live sports. If they weren't going to if it was just about getting subscribers, Netflix would just keep doing whatever the fuck they're doing. They're doing fine. You know what I mean? They're getting subscribers. They're making a lot of money. They want to take that thing to the next level and do the live sports and sell ads against those live sports in addition to selling those subscriptions. So that is really where, yeah, that number is okay, but they want to ensure that everybody is watching live. So you saying, a lot of people are going to say, I'll just watch the next day, or I'll just watch. That's the opposite effect of what they want. And you know what? This follows exactly what was going on with Fox. I don't know if you remember those conversations when Fox first started. That was the whole idea. Fox said, good, people are going to be forced to watch this show live because it's wrestling and it's sports and all that sort of stuff. And very quickly thereafter, we got quotes from people in Fox and all that sort of stuff being a bit surprised at how many people were DVRing it and being a bit surprised by how many people were not watching live. And that's not the game. They want you to, like football. If Fox is going to air a football game, they know you're engaged, you're watching live. If wrestling fans are just going to say, I'll watch the next day, it's not worth it then. That's where that large investment in live sports is lost because you are not a live sport property then. You're just the same as a TV show that I can watch on DVR the next day.
Well, our most aggressive estimate based on the Samba TV numbers was about 1 million people watching live.
Yeah, and that's good-ish.
Because if you take that 664,000 households, jack it up 20%, that's what I did before. Right? I said, okay, Samba's estimates based on the 752,000 households from last year on USA are a little soft. Okay. We know they're about to, so let's jack it up by 20%. So that's 875,000 households. I'll walk you right through the math. Okay. So let's say it was 875 as opposed to 664. If you do that, a little over 1 million, like 1,100 people watching live, which that's probably right in the neighborhood of USA, right? Because the USA Nielsen numbers were a little higher than that, but some of those are DVR viewers within the first 24 hours, right? So, basically, the same amount of people, which is, if that's true, that's massively disappointing considering the hype behind it.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's a bad. Now it's a bad number. When you really start boiling this thing down, it's a bad number.
So I look, I don't think that these numbers are even dishonest. I don't see any obvious fluffing going on here. I believe about 3.5 million people watched in totality, but they didn't. If you have put any stock in this Samba TV, even with aggressive percentage additions to that, I don't know. It's the more you dissect this, the less impressive it is, because now we know what's going down too. And here's the thing: you're not going to get numbers.
No.
And I don't think you're going to get numbers except when they have special episodes or do something unique, because these numbers are going to go down, and they're not going to tout numbers that were lower than these numbers, because they're going to want people to just focus on these numbers forever and have dumb people who think 6.5 million people watched say that 6.5 million people watched. It's so crazy that Eric would say that when right in the very press release, it says that 4.9 million people watch globally. Their own press release, okay, says that less than 5 million people watch globally, but Eric thinks 6 million people watched in the US. And people listen to him.
He worked in TV, Joe, and you didn't. So you know what? Go to hell.
That's
what
right.
Do you know?
So he knows what he's talking about. It's unbelievable. Like, it's right in the press release you quote tweeted. It's right there. Your numbers are impossible.
Confirmed from Chris Sampson's in the chat right now. Says, can confirm this episode of Raw is 2 hours and 25 minutes on Netflix right now with no ads.
Well, okay. So look, I just looked it up. I pay $24.89 a month for Netflix. I'm on the highest tier, right?
Yep.
I don't know.
That's the one I'm on. I believe that is the highest. I don't know if there's a higher one.
$24. Do you remember when it was $6.99?
I do. Not that long ago.
I'm not trying to sound like old guy, but it was like
it wasn't that long ago. No. You should sound like old guy, because it was not that long ago. But
and we kept getting emails like every 6 months. Hey, by the way, we're going to $12.99. Oh, we're going to $15.99. Oh, we're going to $18.99. $24.89.
Yeah, so you're the 4K HDR, watch ad free, all that sort of stuff. So I'm actually I just found out I'm on the standard. I'm paying $16 per month, which is also ad free. I get a lowly 1080p. You get 4K HDR. So
yeah, I am a 4K snob. So is my wife. So
is there enough good Netflix stuff in 4K? Because I got a 4K cable box, and let me tell you, there's fucking nothing airs on cable.
There's nothing on cable yet.
Except like the other week, it was like a Seton Hall. Nothing ever airs. No baseball games ever air.
It was a Fox game. It was
no fucking football games ever air. No basketball games. And then randomly I get like Champions League or Premier League shit. And then the other day, what was it? Seton Hall and who was this team? It was like
Fox College basketball.
Yeah, it was like Seton Hall and somebody else. I'm like, what the fuck? This is the game? Seton Hall and Syracuse?
You're learning.
The 4K? What?
I'm telling you, you're going to learn Fox, college football, and college basketball, NBC with the Premier League stuff on Sunday mornings. And only if you have the packages, Dodger games, White Sox games, they are, so that'll work.
Good.
Well, I don't know now what they're
doing. I can't even watch them, so I'm not
Actually, that might be different because that was last year on right. So it won't even
NBC Sports Chicago, which is dead. So
that's right. But White Sox were one of the teams that had 4K games if you had extra innings. I would watch White Sox games just because they were in 4K. I watch Dodger games almost every night in the summer because it's after the Reds games are over and it's in beautiful 4K. So why wouldn't I? Plus, it's the Dodgers and they're a big team. But yeah, it isn't much more than that. Believe it or not, the NFL does almost no 4K.
I couldn't believe my dad came over for Thanksgiving and I was like, have you ever seen a game in 4K, Dad? He's like, no. And I'm like, all right, here we go. Oh,
yeah, right.
None of these games, not one.
Didn't you feel like a dick?
I know.
Like, oh my god!
I was like, well, this HD's pretty nice too. Anyway, he's like, yeah, that's fine. I'm like, yeah, I know. It's okay.
You thought you're going to be able to flaunt a little?
Yeah,
show
right.
off,
I got a 4K box. Why don't you watch the NFL in 4K?
You're like, Dad, I know you think I'm just a desk jockey, but I have made it in this world. I'm going to blow your mind, sir, with a little 4K NFL action. And you put on the channel and you're like, just totally owned.
Looks exactly the same.
Got totally owned.
Right, it looks
exactly
the same. Because at first he's like, oh, yeah, I think I could tell. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's not. You know, he tried to flatter me. He's like, no, it does look better. I'm like, it doesn't.
He felt bad.
Yeah.
He felt bad for you.
Right.
he had secondhand embarrassment.
Yeah, he's like, no, it does. I see it looks better. I'm like, well, no, that's just because my TV's better than your TV. But no, it's not.
That's a beautiful picture, son. Beautiful picture, son.
Right.
You're doing good, son.
Yeah,
You're doing good. Yeah. That's humiliating.
Fucking 4K. All right.
Yeah. So in theory, you're right. I shouldn't have had the ads. Now we have a guy who I know lives in Texas in the chat who claims he didn't have any ads. And he's on the same tier I'm on. So maybe there was just glitches or some shit on the first night. Kind of like how last week on Max, the replay was only with the Spanish commentary.
Right.
And I gave up and just watched it. And this week I watched it. I watched on my DVR too. I'll probably never watch that on Max because I'm not even going to think about it because it's right there on my DVR. You know what I mean? So unless it's like something's going on with the satellite dish, it's nice to have Max as the backup. But at the same time, with my DirecTV package, I get TBS and TNT on demand, and all the Collision and Dynamite episodes were there anyway. I don't know if they are with the new deal, but whenever I had an issue with my DVR, I would just go to their on demand right there through my DirecTV and just watch it there without commercials.
Right.
So it's like I don't gain anything with Max. I don't gain anything at all unless the pay-per-views end up being cheaper. Raw on Netflix, I was thinking about this. I'm probably going to have to remind myself, because I would DVR Raw and then skim through it most weeks and watch segments that people were talking about that I felt I had to keep my finger on the pulse of. That's going to be different for me because I'm not going to think about Raw as much if it's not sitting there on my DVR. If I have to go the extra step to go to Netflix, because I almost never watch Netflix. There's nothing on Netflix I watch. So, we have it because my wife loves it. It's going to be, I'm going to have to remind myself that where Raw is to go and catch up on it. I'm probably going to end up watching less Raw because it's on Netflix, is the point I'm making. Because of that. Because sometimes I just be fucking around, channel surfing or looking what's on my DVR. Oh, Raw. Okay, let me fast forward it. Let me take 45 minutes to, you know what I mean? I'm not going to do that anymore. So, because I'm not going to go to Netflix. I never go to Netflix and just surf around Netflix. I don't really watch anything on Netflix. All right, anything else on this? Or because we're never seeing these numbers again.
No, this is it. Wave goodbye to these numbers. It's over. This was the one. It had The Rock.
Lower than this. It
had Hogan. Yeah. It had The Taker. It had Roman versus Solo. It had Seth versus Punk. We're never seeing these numbers ever again. This is it. Until, like you said, there's another special or whatever, then maybe we will, or the night after WrestleMania or something like that, maybe. But we're not getting anything week to week. So this is what it is. These are the numbers, and I think ultimately, when you really boil it down, I think when you really study it, like we just did right there for the last hour, it's not a good number. It's a bad number, and it's got to be a number that I'm sure both WWE and Netflix is probably slightly disappointed by, given.
Here's the other thing. The show fucking stunk and is not getting good reviews. And that's not going to help either in terms of hooking people to watch every week who maybe parachuted in to watch this week. And that's not just us talking, because our review, obviously we didn't like it. Rich is not getting good reviews anywhere. Even in places that aren't viewed as anti-WWE as we are. Although if we liked the show, we would have said we liked the show. But set us aside if you want, because we just don't really like the promotion, and it's going to be hard for us to enjoy something they do. But set us aside. This Raw didn't get good reviews anywhere. It got, and as we discussed on the IRL, that wasn't the kind of show that I think someone who was a non-fan or a lapsed fan was going to want to come back. They're not going to want more of that.
They didn't give you anything to come back to. They didn't.
No.
In addition to the way the show was structured, which I agree, they didn't give you any hook. They didn't give you The Rock beating down Cody Rhodes to into a bloody pulp and an idea of what's going to happen next week. There was no hooks. There was not. It was a show of finalities. It was Rhea finally put away Liv Morgan. Roman finally put away Solo Sikoa. The Rock finally squashed the beef with Cody. The Rock finally squashed the beef with Roman Reigns. The CM Punk finally beat Seth Rollins. It was that was what the show was. It was like a pay-per-view in that sense, where they concluded all these stories. But then, as I think it was Sue Williams was the first one who mentioned it in our Instant Reaction live chat room, what the fuck hook did they give you for next week? They have nothing. The hook next week was Chad Gable will face a luchador. That's it. That is literally what they left the debut episode of Raw on Netflix with, is come back next week. Chad Gable will face a luchador. That is it. That is the only thing that you know for a show that, everybody rags on Tony and AEW and all these other companies about not promoting shows ahead of time and not giving you matches ahead of time and not promoting show to show. Raw went off the air with their debut on Netflix, and literally the only thing you knew that was going to happen next week was Chad Gable would face a luchador. That's it.
Yeah, and they gave you stuff that you're never getting again, like The Rock and Hulk Hogan and The Undertaker and all these special guests. And what they did a great job of is making it feel big and making it feel special. They succeeded in that. What they failed in was they failed to deliver a fast-paced, exciting, hey, this would be a lot of fun to watch every week. That isn't what it was at all. Mm-hmm. It was a slog. It was a slow-moving, methodical, it was a slog of a show that I can't imagine someone who was trying it, which was the goal of this, would say, man, I need to lock in every Monday for this, because it wasn't that kind of deal. It wasn't exciting, fast-paced, vibrant. It was very slow-moving, methodical, and boring, especially if you're not locked into the characters and the stories, which was the target audience of who they're trying to capture. They know the WWE diehard. They're going to watch next week. It doesn't matter. They were trying to impress them. Those people aren't going anywhere. They were trying to impress people who don't watch to keep watching. And I thought that was an awful show in terms of trying to impress people who don't watch or had never watched or lapsed into watching next week. I thought they did an exceptionally poor job at that. So, from that standpoint, I don't think it was a success either. And I think that's why we're not going to see numbers moving forward. Because I'm sure whatever they did this week is going to be cut in half next week.
Oh, for sure.
It's going to be cut in half.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, and I should note, Brady did point out, Brady Livingston in our chat room did point out, they also announced the women's IC title final, Priest versus Balor in a street fight, and Kaiser versus Sheamus. But, none of those matches are really...
That's not anything that's going to attract
those are no
lapsed fan. People don't even know who those people are.
Right.
I saw that there was that one extremely funny write-up, and I think I don't know who it was. It might have been Austin Karp. I don't know who it was. In fact, I think it was Austin Karp. I'm paraphrasing. But because the next day, instead of a bunch of fake inflated numbers, what we got is the WWE friendly media, all the pals of Nick Khan putting out their fluff pieces of what a great success the show was, right? All these different entertainment reporters and whatnot. And I think Austin Karp was the one who wrote, the debut featured tons of big stars, from Hulk Hogan to Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson to John Cena to The Undertaker and The Rock's cousin.
Oh,
how deep does that cut? It's like they named all these people and The Rock's
cousin.
Unnamed.
He was unnamed. It did say The Rock. It did say The Rock's cousin, Roman Reigns. It just said The Rock's cousin. Oh no.
And actually, it was in the middle of the list. Like it wasn't. It said it featured The Rock, Hulk Hogan, The Rock's cousin, John Cena, The Undertaker. He was like in the middle of the fucking sentence. And not only is that hilarious, because look, like we always say, anyone who thinks Roman Reigns is on the same level as any of these people is out of their fucking mind. Nobody knows who Roman Reigns is. Okay. But the other thing about that is that could be a number of people, actually. That could be Jey Uso. That could be Jacob Fatu.
Yeah, maybe he's like, I don't know who that guy is. I'm just going to say The Rock.
Covering all bases.
You know what? I don't know who that guy, or that guy is, but they all look like they're Samoans, so I'll just say The Rock's cousin and go on.
Yeah, that's exactly how it came out. Because many of Rock's cousins were on this show. Roman totally getting shit on.
The Rock's cousin.
Let me see if I could find that. I think it was Austin Karp. If someone in the chat can help, if they've got the link. But this is extremely funny how Roman just got totally blown off.
Someone's got to send that to Dwayne. Someone's got to send that to Dwayne when Dwayne decides he wants to do WrestleMania this year, because that'll be a good line for him for sure. Yeah. So,
yeah, you could, exactly. You call him the Rock's cousin.
Yeah.
Don't maybe do the Barack Obama Rock impression again.
No, he needs that again. Yeah, that's. And there was a lot of real anger. I noticed this too. There was a lot of actual real anger from like you said, even the WWE friendly media about how the Rock. I saw the Undisputed Justin Barrasso was like ripping the usage of the Rock, like a new one, on because he has like a Substack now that he does. He's not with SI anymore, and he was just saying like how fans were told to like invest it. Like The Rock, pinned Cody on night 1 of WrestleMania. You know what I mean? He was an integral part of night 2 of last year's WrestleMania. And then he disappears and he comes back at Bad Blood. And Cody and Roman, win the match, and The Rock is there with his Brahma Bull belt looking at him, at both of them, and they're looking back at him and all that sort of stuff. So it's like, oh, okay. And all that investment, a year-long story, is basically just The Rock saying, here you go. Here's a handshake and a hug. All right, here's a handshake and a hug. All right, bye.
You're the quarterback, sir, and you're the tribal chief. I agree.
And he brought up a great point about how The Rock, had sort of leaned into the final boss and all this sort of stuff. Yeah. And he comes out here and he's just like, Netflix, aren't they great? Hey, Ari Emanuel, that guy's great too. He was just like corporate Rock, and then he hugged everybody and then he left. And it's like they just said fuck you for giving a shit about The Rock at any point in the last year and a half. You're an idiot.
He dumped water on both of the potential matches that he set up, which means when he comes back, he'll have to set him up again. What about, remember last year when The Rock was like whispering in Cody's ear and fucking all that shit?
Yeah,
That's all
he
just
handed him something.
Now.
Yeah, I think that was mentioned too. I think the night after Mania, he handed Cody something and whispered in his ear. That's just kind of whatever. Who cares? Move on.
The Rock saw all that criticism because he's very gotten to, because then he said himself.
God, did you see his promo on NXT? That is such a gotten to man. Yeah,
extremely gotten to. Now, this guy is a billionaire, probably a legitimate billionaire, right? He's probably got a bill. He's got a bill, right? Dwayne, he's worth.
What is Dwayne The Rock Johnson's net worth right now? Let's see.
He's got to be worth $1 billion.
The Rock Johnson
TKO stock
net
and everything
worth.
else.
Oh, I forgot he's got stock. Yeah. It says $800 million here on the Takedown, but I don't know if that's actually
true. Let's round that up to a bill.
Yeah.
Why not? So this is a guy that's probably has an on-paper worth of $1 billion. Okay. He's got, the world at his feet, and he's one of the most recognizable and biggest stars on earth. Why does he give a shit what people on the internet are saying? Like, do you remember there used to be a time where a common phrase was Michael Jordan is never in the comments section, which was basically a way to say successful, busy people don't have time to fucking care about what people are saying on the internet or arguing on the internet. Dwayne The Rock Johnson does not. Why is he in the comments section, Rich? The fuck does he care what anyone thinks? But he clearly does. He cares deeply. And you know what? The fact that he saw all of those bad write-ups and bad reviews for the way they handled that on Raw and the way he handled that, okay? Because believe me, no one tells him what to do. He went out there and did what he wanted to do. That, to me, makes it more likely that he's going to find a way to wedge himself.
Absolutely. Yes, that was going to be my take is if you guys think that after that promo on NXT that he's just going to say, all right, well, you guys have your Rumble and your Mania. I'll see us somewhere down the road. No, that's going to fuel him even more. That man's going to be in a ring training, in the next week or two. And definitely like that locked it in. After seeing that promo on NXT, there was no way that gotten to man is going to just sit back and let WrestleMania happen without him. No fucking way. No way.
Yeah. I mean, I just think it's crazy. I mean, I'm not even ever gotten to anymore since we stopped being on social media. This guy's a billionaire and he's constantly gotten to.
Yeah, if you're The Rock, it's like, that happens with like Kevin Durant too. Like Kevin Durant used to have burners and he argues with people on Twitter all the time. I was like, bro, you're fucking Kevin Durant, man. Just log off. What are you doing? Why are you arguing like, you don't know shit about basketball? It's like, no, he doesn't. That guy doesn't know shit about basketball. Stop arguing with him. What are you doing?
Yeah,
you're not gonna make, fucking random username letters and numbers. Look at it this way, and this is what we always say about like social media arguments. At no point during this time that you're going to waste with the social media argument, trust me, we've been there, I've done it, I'm telling you from someone that's gotten away from it. At no point during this argument is one person going to say, you know what? You're right. Kevin Durant's clowning on, King James 69XXX. That guy's not going to go, I'm sorry, Kevin, you're right. I didn't think about it that way. You know what I mean? That's never going to happen.
At ball don't lie in your mama's mouth is never coming around on you talking ball with him. He's just you're not convincing me
right.
No matter what you say.
Yeah, you can reply to him 1,000 times. It's not going to eventually go, right. Thanks, Kevin. I didn't think of it that way. You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh, that's actually a really good thought, Kevin. I didn't think of it that way. Thank you so much for enlightening me. Bye. Have a great day. Like, that's never going to happen, ever.
Yeah, it's probably some guy like vaping in a sideways hat who like, what are you doing? It's like the Dave Meltzer theory. Like these people he argues with, they're just dolts. It's a waste of everybody's time, including his own, mostly his own. You know, it's the same theory. You know, Rock went on fucking TV to acknowledge this shit. It's crazy.
Dropping a lot of F-bombs too. He was so gotten to on that show.
Yes, so gotten to.
Jesus Christ.
You know?
You hate when I'm mean to him. You hate when I'm nice to him. Jesus Christ. It's like,
I mean, this
what
is
are
an
you talking
insecure
about?
guy.
Right,
you know what it is? I think he's insecure that he doesn't have a full grasp or handle on the modern fan base.
Yeah, for sure.
Because they chose Cody over him. He's still not over it. He found a way to rebound and make it work. But it took adjustment, you know, and I think that it's the same thing here. I think he felt like if he went out there and distanced himself from WrestleMania, he would gain the appreciation of the fans and all this. Instead, he cracks his knuckles. He logs on to the fucking internet the next day, and he sees that everybody's burying him for killing the two potential matches. Yeah. And he's throwing his hands up going, oh, what the fuck?
Yeah, well, you hated this, you hated that. What do you want from me?
Right. So then he's like, oh, it's NXT, it's the CW. I'm The Rock. It doesn't matter. I'm just gonna say whatever the fuck I want, and I'm gonna use this to vent. And I think that's how his mind was working in that moment. You know, instead of sitting down in the lab with his boy Gerwitz or whatever and coming up with something to, you know, that might work, he's perpetually gotten to. You know, so yeah, I do think it makes it more likely that he might want to prove something now. Mm-hmm. You know, why can't he fly back and forth from these reshoots? Obviously, he's got to be in shape for it. That's live action, that Moana, right?
No. It's animated.
Yeah, they're doing the live action Moana.
Oh, is that what he's doing? Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
I think it's the live action version.
Got it. Okay.
Which is crazy because, all right, this annoyed me.
You got a Moana take?
Yeah, I do. The character he voices in that is a fat guy.
Yes.
Okay? But in the live action, he's jacked to the gills. That's not a proper representation of the cartoon character who's a fat guy. You know? So I don't like that. As someone who has to glance at Moana from time to time with the kids in here, you know, I don't think, they should have found someone else. I understand he's the voice, you know, and he sings the You're Welcome song and all that, but he don't look like the guy.
Oh, yeah, that guy is big and fat. Yeah, I forgot how big and fat that guy was.
You didn't believe me. You just Googled it, didn't
you?
No,
I forgot how fat he was. He's very fat. I thought he was just like a little thick. No, he's like an incredibly fat man. And Dwayne The Rock Johnson is not fat, obviously.
Because I remember there were some ultra wokes at the time that said it wasn't fair that he got the role because he's in shape. And people were like, it's a voice acting gig. What are you talking about? Like, what? That's where the internet was at that time. It was out of fucking
at
control.
The time. It still stinks. Go on to Blue Sky. Someone said the same argument already. So.
Yeah, no, I know, but it was even worse 10 years ago.
True.
It was the voice actor's body has to match the fucking.
He doesn't sound like a fat guy. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
What does that even mean?
God. All right. Well, that's WWE. Oh, sorry. Real quick hitters here. John Cena, he's got 36 dates in 2025. That's what he said on the post-Raw press conference. He's got 36 dates lined up. Not sure how many matches he's got, but his first official match obviously will come at the Royal Rumble, which is in February this year. So Royal Rumble is on February. And speaking of Royal Rumbles, next year's Royal Rumble 2026, will be in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, for the 2026 Royal Rumble. And I don't know if that news went over very well with a lot of fans as well. I think that may have ruffled some feathers in a way. You know what I mean? Like they're always a lot of certain level of leeway with the Saudi Arabia thing, but I think messing with an institution like the Royal Rumble, some fans are going to get a little irked by that, but those checks are still going to get cashed, so nobody's going to care. You know what I mean?
It's like every other sporting event that the Kingdom purchases. Boxing events, no one, it's just no one cares. It is what it is. If you're a fan of something, you're going to watch. I'm not going to be. Listen, I'm not a hypocrite. If the Rams playoff game was in Saudi Arabia this Monday, you think I'm skipping it?
Oh, hell no.
I'm tuning in.
Yeah.
It's just people are going to watch the shit they want to watch. So, there might be. Look, if you're someone who was not going to watch the Royal Rumble because it was in Saudi Arabia, you're already not watching. You're already not watching. So from that standpoint, the people who are, rightfully grossed out by it, they're just preaching to their own choir. You're not, it's not going to make a meaningful difference in how the show is received or watched or anything like that. So, there's a lot of talk that one day they might do a WrestleMania there too. And
I know sure some people, that's the next step for sure.
Yeah, some people are like, no, well, they can't do that. And I'm like, look, if the money says they can, they will. I mean,
the Saudi shows alone, the fucking whatever insert random Saudi show makes more than WrestleMania every single year. So,
oh my God, it's not even close.
So the Saudi WrestleMania is going to make many, 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 many more times what those other shows do. So yeah, it's
well, there's that Brandon Thurston has that chart where the total value of the deal with Saudi Arabia, every WrestleMania in history still hasn't made as much as that deal.
Right.
So of course they would do a WrestleMania there. I don't think that would stop them at all. And it's TKO. They're Teflon, and it doesn't matter. And as I demonstrated, when it comes down to it, if people want to consume something, they're going to consume it.
They'll find a way. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we had quickly about AEW streaming. I think we sort of touched on it here, but I'm of the same thought of you that the fact that we have heard nothing from WBD and we've heard nothing from AEW regarding the simulcast on Max let us know, again, similar to how radio silence from WWE and Netflix about the WWE the Raw. That's how we know it's not a good number. It's deemed at least an insignificant, a bad, or an irrelevant number, right? That's what we know from not getting any press release at all or anything out there.
Something that was toutable, they would tout it.
Yeah, they're not touting it, so it's just
and look, there's no negative to having it on there, other than if you feel like it's going to hurt their television viewership. But here's the thing: WBD's getting those eyeballs anyway because they're getting it on their platform. So WBD isn't going to care if the Nielsen number drops, but those people have simply moved over and are watching it on Max. They're not losing those viewers.
Sure, and that's fine with them. Yeah, that all works in that all works in tandem. So that's fine. Right. Yeah, that works for them.
Right, but and that might be the case. I don't know. I just don't think. I think eventually that might be the case. It's not. I don't think it's statistically relevant numbers right now.
Well, I think what we know now, and I think we could safely say this, and I think you and I both kind of thought this, and now we've seen it play out a little bit, is that wrestling being on streaming services is not going to make new wrestling fans overnight. Now, it might, well,
there's people who have the theory that Peacock is the reason WWE exploded, and I don't agree with that.
No, I think WWE exploded and Peacock made it easier for people to watch it, but no, it
maybe.
But I think these things get popular because they get popular. They don't get popular because they're on a platform.
Right. I think if Peacock has anything to do with the quote unquote hot period, it's a very small factor. A number of other factors, but there's people who think that like that their theory is that that's the primary factor. I disagree. I think it was, a combination of many things, and in pro wrestling, it always comes down to, do you have stars that people are connecting with, and people are connecting with Cody and the Bloodline and et cetera, et cetera. I think that's the primary factor. I think it's foolish to think that there's any other factor, And then you want to throw in CM Punk, who came a little later in the game, and it pops those Mount Everest quarter hours. You could throw him in there if you want.
I think it's a multitude of factors. It's Cody coming in, it's Vince leaving, it's Punk, and it's Sami Zayn entering the Bloodline.
All those things.
Those four things.
Can't forget that, And I think every one of those are more significant than the move to Peacock. I think this hot period happens with or without Peacock. But I don't think this hot period happens without some of those other things you just mentioned. That's exactly.
If they didn't have Peacock, but all these other things happened, I think we're still in the same place we are. But you replace any of those things, and you keep Peacock, I don't. Yeah, exactly. And so I think this fallacy that all of a sudden millions upon millions of people that weren't watching wrestling every single week will now discover wrestling or find wrestling or instantly become drawn to wrestling because it's on Max or it's on Netflix, and there's so many people that have these apps or whatever. They still have to want to watch wrestling. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you still have to want to watch wrestling to watch wrestling. It's not, accessibility is not the problem here. The problem is wrestling, and if it's not popular or you're not connecting with it or whatever. So yeah, I mean, in time, maybe a few more people discover because it's on Netflix. Maybe in time, a few more people discover AEW because it's on Max. Like, of course, you have to take these risks. But this idea that like overnight, a bunch, millions upon millions of more people are going to be able to watch this that weren't watching before, it's just never really happened, and it didn't happen here.
Yeah. Someone asked if WWE or NBC ever really tout the Peacock numbers. Yeah, they were touting them for the PLEs, if you recall, with the really ridiculous numbers, like X amount of million people watch, and it was like watched for a minute and shit, like just totally useless fucking nonsense that they were touting. But yeah, they would do that. Yeah, they were doing that for. Now they don't do it as often.
They don't do it. They did it a lot a couple years ago, but it has kind of subsided in recent years.
Definitely has. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to New Japan Pro Wrestling. So they had Fallout, obviously, from the Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty. Again, instant reaction lives for both of those shows available on our $10 tier if you want recaps and reviews of both Wrestle Kingdom and Wrestle Dynasty. So big Fallout stuff from that. We had the New Year Dash show the next day. Nothing really happened on that show. I don't know. I watched bits and pieces of it. I did not watch the show in full because I kind of got the word that there's really nothing worth watching or nothing really worth your time. How much of New Year Dash did you watch?
It was a nothing show, so I watched the Josh Barnett Oleg Boltin match, which ended up only being a 5-minute exhibition match, which was disappointing. But it opened the show, so I was able to watch it and then go to bed. But the big thing after that was Barnett has agreed to train him, so he's going to be like a mentor and storyline to Boltin. At least that's look. I don't know if this could be the last we see of Barnett, but that's the story they were trying to tell coming out of the little 5-minute exhibition, which ended with Boltin in a rear naked choke, of course. So if Josh had a few more seconds, Rich, he would have. But
I love him.
But then it was just a bunch of like road 2 tags and I exit stage left. I have no use for it, and there really wasn't much. Look, I think hoping every year that New Year Dash is going to be like it was 10 years ago, where they would shoot major angles and do all those days are long gone. It's a mystery vortex show, and then it's always underwhelming with the lineup. They very rarely do anything interesting. The Kenny Omega angle where he attacked AJ Styles on his last night, or I think El Desperado may have debuted on a New Year Dash. I could be wrong about that, but there's been a number of different angles and interesting matches and fun stuff on New Year's Dash. But you got to go back
many years
10
removed.
years from that.
Yeah, we're pretty removed from those. So yeah, it's time to maybe think about what this thing actually is as opposed to what it once was.
Yeah, I think we're done with that. So no, there was nothing of consequence on New Year Dash.
New Japan Battle in the Valley is coming up this weekend, January 11th, in San Jose. Main event of that show is Gabe Kidd versus Tomohiro Ishii for the New Japan Strong openweight title. Gabe Kidd obviously defending that title. New Japan Strong openweight tag team titles. The West Coast Wrecking Crew, Jarrell Nelson and Royce Isaacs versus Roppongi Revice, Rocky Romero and Yo.
Who will also challenge for the junior titles proper. I think they're the next challengers for the IWGP junior titles. Yeah.
Zack Sabre Jr. versus Hechicero, non-title match for that. Hetch hasn't earned IWGP World. Yeah, he hasn't earned an IWGP World Heavyweight title, I guess. El Desperado versus Taiji Ishimori, first time ever matchup here in San Jose. I'm joking. Never openweight title. Konosuke Takeshita versus Kushida. A little interesting there. New Japan World Television title, El Phantasmo versus Jeff Cobb. And then in Sumi Sakai, I believe this is her retirement match. Hiromu Takahashi, Mayu Iwatani, and Yuka Sakazaki versus Evil, Sho, and Sumi Sakai.
Yeah, so Sumi Sakai housed Evil and Sho when they were on their U.S. excursions. Also Yo, but he's involved in something else on the show. So that's why Sho and Evil, and obviously they're House of Torture members, and Yo's a babyface. That wouldn't have worked anyway. But if people are wondering why this looks like a Fire Pro random button match, she has close relationships with Takaake Watanabe and Sho Tanaka, who stayed with her in New Jersey while they were on excursion here some 10 years ago or whatever it was. So that explains that. And that'll be it for Sumi Sakai, who has always had that close relationship with New Japan and has helped them out when it came to American excursions. So that's that. Now the show itself is not doing well. The last WrestleTix update was today, and it's sitting at under 1,400 tickets. Remember, this show last year did a sellout of 2,147, and it had Okada, Will Ospreay on top with Jon Moxley and Shingo underneath. And the Eddie Kingston Gabe Kidd feud was in full force at that time, and that was third from the top. So, a much stronger show last year in terms of star power when you've got Okada, Ospreay, and Jon Moxley. This year, you just heard the lineup, and unless there is a significant walk-up, they're not going to approach last year's numbers. So you got no Mercedes. She wasn't on it this year, but she was on it the year before last. She wasn't on it last year either, but she was on the year before last, right? So, and then last year you had all those big stars and big matches. So this year it's a struggle, and this is what we talked about. Zack Sabre Jr. is not any kind of a draw as world champion yet, and we'll see if he ever develops into one. Gabe Kidd coming off that incredible match against Omega, it hasn't seemed to make much of a difference. According to WrestleTix, they only moved 90 tickets over the last 2 days, which would have been since the 5th, right? So no significant movement there. There's not some rush to go see Gabe Kidd yet, at least in America. So we see. It looks like it's going to do a significantly lower number than it did the prior 2 years. But that is coming up this weekend, and I suppose we will review it next week.
Absolutely. And I should note also an eight-woman elimination tag match. Anna Jay, Azumi, Johnny Robbie, and Trish Adora versus Hanako, Micah, Mina Shirakawa, and Viva Van as well.
So that's Survivor Series style?
8-man elimination, yeah.
Eliminate?
Yeah.
I like an elimination match, Rich. I know you don't like them. Are you prepared for Scoop Slam pinfalls?
A little schoolboy, I guess in this case, a schoolgirl getting the quick 1, 2, 3 to get Coco Beware out of there. Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But,
all right.
Also, on Dash, we should have noted that Drilla Maloney is now a heavyweight. Thanks, Nap.
Yeah.
528 in the chat room for reminding us this. And that Kenta
and
has
he's
left
going
the
to feud
company.
with Shingo. He's going to feud with Shingo.
Which sounds awesome. And Kenta looks like he's done. Kenta is done in New Japan. He's going back to Noah. We knew.
Didn't it feel like that, though?
Yeah. Oh, no,
Didn't it feel like that?
I think that was my thought. Was he's clearly doing more Noah next year, but I didn't know he was straight up just like deuces to New Japan, and I'm going all the way back to Noah, which honestly is better for everybody. That is the better move for all parties involved.
It's the best move for all. It really felt like the Kano match was a setup of a program and not just a one-off. And, I think Kenta it's time. It's time for him to go back home. I don't think it was time when he left WWE. We talked about this when we reviewed the Noah show, but at the time I talked about that, and I thought a lot of people expected him to go back to Noah. Noah was in shambles. He wouldn't have helped. He wouldn't have made any money. New Japan was absolutely the move at that time. They were hot. He was fresh. And all told, he had a nice little run there. His body wasn't what it used to be. I think the final great thing he did there was that absolutely bonkers, sick as fuck ladder match with Tanahashi, which fucked both of them up.
Neither have been the same since. Like Tanahashi specifically has not been the same since that match.
Yeah, but man, was it fun to watch.
It was fucking great. Yeah, it was awesome.
That
was the match where I more times than I've ever said, you don't have to do this. Why are you doing that? Like Tanahashi being like, yeah, I'll do this. It's like, no, dude, you don't have to do this. Nobody told you had to do this. You don't have to do this. And he just did it. He just did it. That is I want to go back and watch that match one of these days. I'm sure it's just absolutely insane to watch in hindsight, even more so than it was watching in real time, which was insane.
So no more Fang revives. No more Fang revives in New Japan. So that'll be it for that. But it's time to go back. Noah's on much more stable, powerful ownership. We said it a million times, but in fact, their parent company is bigger than New Japan's parent company. They just can't get their shit together on the wrestling end, and and they don't seem to want to get behind their wrestling properties as strong as Bushiroad gets behind New Japan, and I guess Stardom too. But it's a good fit for him now, It's the program that they kicked off here with Kano, and a fun match on that show. And I look forward to see, what Kenta could do. He kind of had that old Kenta look in his eye.
Yeah, that green ring. That green ring brought it back in him. Maybe he thought that New Japan was like, I have to be a new character, or a new thing, or whatever. And then he got back in that green ring, and he was like,
he was being directed to be a certain
possible,
way, and he always had. It felt like one tongue firmly planted in cheek when he was in New Japan.
Yeah.
Particularly as the run moved along towards the latter stages. Early, not so much. And actually, I thought, his best New Japan moment was when he turned on Shibata. Oh my God, was that a great angle? I mean, it didn't lead to anything, but when he turned on Shibata, that was one of my favorite angles in modern wrestling. It was so good. It just didn't go anywhere. But everything after that, it's like, even at the Rambo, where he was doing that little
little walk.
Olympic
yeah, he does
power
a little walk.
Kind of the ring, you know what I mean? Like, and he's a goofball on Twitter, but when in that Noah match, it's like that fire was back.
Mm-hmm.
He had that Noah fire in his eyes because, that grumpy fucking prick feel.
Well, it's
that
and Noah's in a good spot for him to be that guy right now because he's back now. He can be like the legend that's come back to the company, and there's all these new guys, all these younger guys or whatever that he's never, he's got. You can just imagine the matches with Kiyomiya, and you can imagine the matches with Ozawa, and you can imagine some of those other matches that he could have there. And it's like, yeah, there's a lot of good stuff for Kenta to do as like
people
kind of
he hasn't worked with.
Yeah, it's a whole new generation.
And here's the other thing: he can do the things that he can do well now in Noah. In New Japan, you have to work a certain kind of match. And in Noah, he can just go in there and kick people in the chest and work stiff, which are things that as an older wrestler whose body is fucking destroyed, he probably doesn't want to bump. Well, we know he doesn't want to bump a lot. He doesn't have the athleticism he used to have. But what does he have? He can convey being nasty. He could get that across. He could get across that he's grump. And he can kick people's chests in and slap them in the face.
Mm-hmm.
And, he can work a style more conducive to what he brings to the table in Noah. I think this is a great.
I can't wait. It's so good for everybody involved. Yeah, I can't wait.
Yeah.
New Japan, New Beginning in Osaka. A little bit of the lineup so far. I think there's a couple matches that'll still have to be announced, but we have so far, and this is obviously coming in February, so we're way ahead of the game on this one. Zack Sabre Jr. versus Hiroki Goto for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship. So why not Goto? Is he going to do it here? This is the time. We'll talk about it as we get closer. Yota Tsuji versus Gabe Kidd for the Global Heavyweight title. Young Bucks defending against Hiromu and Naito. The Ichiban Sweet Boys defending the junior titles against Roppongi Revice, as you mentioned, Romero and Yo. Taichi versus Sonata. Great Okan versus Shota Umino. Shingo Takagi versus Drilla Maloney. And then Tanahashi versus Togi Makabe.
Yeah, so Tanahashi is going to wrestle a lot of his old pals in this final year, and this is going to be the first of those as he gets in there with Makabe. We noted Drilla Maloney moves to heavyweight. He's going to be in a program right off the bat with Shingo, and those could be really killer matches between those two. Shota Umino is going to be fascinating to watch to see if he can, what's going to happen here with him. See if he can get over, or if they lean in, or whatever they're going to do with that. And then you see the title matches. I think this is exactly what we thought we'd have with Zach needing help. Not going to be a draw on his own as champion, but if you've got Hiromu and Naito as support as the tag team champions or in the tag team mix, that's going to help sell tickets for these shows, hopefully. Yeah. Now, we'll find out that maybe that singles match didn't help push as many tickets as we thought for the fourth. So, we'll see. But I believe that's the idea, though. That's what they're going for.
Oh, of course. Yeah. The idea definitely is that, Sabre's been a little soft as champion, so we can still get the draw of Naito, but now Naito doesn't actually have to work a 35-minute match on his own. He can work, a tag match and still be, and whatever you think Hiromu is worth, you get both of them really in that. But now, again, like what's important, though, is that you have decent tag team challengers with those guys. Because we could pretty safely assume that Hiromu and Naito were winning those titles at New Beginning. And now, who do they face? Because just having those two in a semi-main event, I don't know that if that's going to sell tickets on its face. I think you also have to have decent challengers, too. And I don't know that the New Japan, like the tag division in New Japan right now, I don't know. It's a little funky right now, so I don't know that you can. But you could probably, if you need to, put some people together and do something. I think it'll help the draw for sure.
Speaking of funky, why don't they bring in Funky 50 Powers? Get a little Muhammad Yone and Quiet Storm
yes,
in there to
right.
pick things up, right?
Right, yeah. We took Kenta. You guys can have Yone and Quiet Storm. Yeah, right.
You got to get Quiet Storm from Osaka Pro.
I was going to say, yeah, Quiet Storm isn't doing a whole lot of.
0-1. Where's he fly his trade these days?
He's a gleader. Quiet Storm.
Oh, he's Gleet?
Yeah, he's Gleeting.
Fuck that. They have a stink to him.
He Osaka Pros too. He does Osaka Pro, but he also Gleets. So
I thought he was in Osaka.
Nah, yeah. He does he does Osaka Pro.
Yeah.
But
all right, I'll give him a pass then for working Gleet. Look, the guy's got to put food on the table.
Yeah, right. Come on.
Understand. I understand. But I'm out on anybody who works Gleet. So
did you see that Glee? Speaking of Glee, did you see that they have now? You know, I remember how all other stuff was free on YouTube for like years, and we were like, "Well, this can't possibly work."
Yeah.
It can't work. The Glee now, if you want to watch Glee shows, you have to become a Glee member on their YouTube channel. So,
well, listen, you don't make any money on YouTube unless you do millions of views.
Correct, and they were not doing millions of views.
Can you trust us? I mean, we know how this works. We're on YouTube. Look, we don't push the YouTube. We don't do a ton of. We're lucky if we do 2,000 views on a video on YouTube. That's a good video. We got a couple. We have a couple that did like 20 or 30,000. Right? They don't make any money, and then we extrapolate it, and it's like there's no money in this. There's no point putting effort into it because unless you're WWE or AEW or maybe New Japan, maybe not even New Japan. Okay. No one in wrestling is going to make significant money on YouTube. I want people to understand that. Okay. Some of these podcasts or people who focus on YouTube more than, the podcast side or having subscriptions and their videos, you might look at them and say, wow, how is this guy doing 50,000 views on YouTube for whatever crappy podcast is? They're not making anything. It's not, you can't make a sustainable living. You have to be in the high hundreds of thousands or millions of views consistently to make like real money on YouTube. So circling this back to Gleet, Rich, what were their videos doing? A couple thousand views?
Yeah, I mean some of them were doing like the high end stuff was doing like 30,000, 20,000, but most of them were doing
pennies.
$5,000 to $10,000. Yeah, it's absolute pennies.
Rich, we've got a couple videos at the 20,000 views. I'm not buying boats. I mean,
no.
You're not making any money.
No, that the Vince McMahon one. We have one about Vince McMahon's quote in the documentary that's up to like 45,000 or whatever. And I will tell you, no boats being purchased off that video at all. So
I mean, what's it? a couple $100? I mean, it's nothing.
A couple $100. Whoa, no, it's not even close to that.
It's not anything. So if you're Gleet, it's just you got to fucking charge people and hope you can get people to pay because you're not gonna make any money. So I get it. It's similar to that Big Japan thing that I talked about on Flagship Plus, where they're rolling out one show a month on YouTube for 9.99 yen, and that's independent of what's their fucking service called that no one buys?
Core. Yeah.
So I don't know if they're pulling a show off of Core for YouTube, or is it YouTube or Twitter? It's YouTube.
I believe it's YouTube. Yeah, I think I'm on their YouTube channel right now. Big Japan Movie. Members only. Yeah, 4 days ago they streamed a show, Deathmatch King. Oh, that was the tournament, I think. Was that the tournament they did on the 5th? No, that wasn't the tournament they did on the 5th. I don't know. So the problem is these members only videos, they say BJW Core on them. The videos say Core. So are these, because I think you had that question, are these the same videos that are on Core?
Yeah, I don't know the answer to that.
Let me actually look at this. I can look at this real quick. So the 1-5 show is available. Oh, this is the one that's in English as well. This is the one that's in English that you were telling me about.
Matt Striker commentary.
Here's the fun story for folks. Matt Striker is doing commentary for this show.
We think Matt Striker is on commentary for Big Japan. I was told that.
Okay, I might have to subscribe to this to find out because there are two videos available.
$10, give it a shot.
Yeah, and one is in English and one is in Japanese. So obviously I have to watch and check that out. So I'll throw a little $10, throw Big Japan a little bit, but now let me find out if that is also available on Big Japan Core.
As our European friends say, throw a tenner.
Throw a tenner.
And
let him buy a truck. Let him buy a truck. I don't want to keep him from a truck. So.
And write it off. It's all a write-off.
Right.
Put it on that little tax return. That little tenner that you put on the.
All right, so these are also available on New Japan Core. Big Japan Core. So it's essentially just the same thing as Core, but nobody knows what the fuck Core is. So we're gonna try it on YouTube now.
It's not the same thing. What they're doing is pulling one show a month.
I see what you're saying. I see. They're pulling one Core show and putting it on YouTube.
They're offering one show a month on YouTube for $9.99. What I wasn't sure of is whether it was an exclusive show for YouTube or just something simulcast on Core. What you're telling me is it's a simulcast on Core.
It looks like it, yeah, from what I can tell.
So And people are like, well, who would buy that? All right, well, there's people who buy WWE pay-per-views for $50 instead of buying Peacock. So is it worth a shot for Big Japan to try that? Sure. I mean, why not, right? I mean, I'm sure it's not zero people paying. Well, it might be, but you get the idea.
It's somewhere between zero and
it's zero and not a lot. It's between
yeah,
zero and not a lot.
Not that many. Yeah.
Yeah. So GLEAT, obviously, they gave it a go. YouTube. Everyone thinks that. Everyone's like, well, we could just do YouTube and just make YouTube. It doesn't cost anything. You just don't. But you have to have 1 million fucking views to make any money, like real money. And I'm saying, if you want to do YouTube as a hobbyist and have a little fucking gas and dinner money, that's great.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, it's great for that. Or to give get more eyeballs on the other thing that you're going to try to get people to buy. Yeah, then of course it makes sense. But
right, which is like our YouTube strategy is more. All right, well, the algorithm will pick us up, and maybe we'll pick up some podcast listeners that become regulars, and then maybe convert them to subscribers. It's like it's like, and what's funny is we've kind of cultivated a very small but dedicated base of YouTube listeners who strictly consume our podcast through YouTube.
Right.
Because the commenters are all different than the commenters in our chat right now, or the people in the Discord, or the commenters on Patreon. These are all little different communities that we've cultivated, right? So I don't mind that they listen on YouTube. That doesn't bother me. I'll take the $8 that we make per video or whatever the fuck from these people watching on YouTube, and we can convert them to subscribers just the same, but in order to cultivate large viewer totals on YouTube, you really have to put heart and hustle into it that we don't want to do. I mean, it would just take so much work.
No, yeah. I don't want, you're not going to see my face. You're not going to see Joe's face.
Right,
you're not going to see a shocked
soy
YouTube.
Face, fucking,
we're not doing that shit.
So, it's, that's all right. Hard pass there. We'll just keep doing what we're doing because we're doing all right. But yeah, that circling back to GLEAT, I think that's what it probably comes down to. They're just tired of making $100 a video, and, they're in, so what are they doing? Doing some kind of pay service or something?
Yeah, it's same thing as like Big Japan. So you do the membership. I think it is. Let me see. I'm not going to subscribe to the GLEAT one. I don't really care that much to watch GLEAT. I'll give Big Japan a couple bucks. GLEAT can they can get their own money their own way. I watched them when they were free. I would put them on in the background sometimes. But yeah, the GLEAT join. Let me try to join the GLEAT thing here so I can tell you how much it is to get all of this GLEAT content. Fucking Nakajima still hanging around there. It's unbelievable. $8.99 per month. $8.99 per month to get GLEAT. GLEAT. What are they calling this gimmick here? GLEAT membership. Just says GLEAT membership. Yeah, $8.99 per month. So
like that MLW thing, right? Where they have their YouTube.
Yeah, that one's the worst.
It's the same shit that they air anyway.
That one, the MLW one, is the most egregious of them all because it wasn't even like. You were getting old stuff. You weren't even getting first run stuff. At least like you were getting like the oh shit, is that gone again? Oh, members only video. Yeah, the members only video you got was a 4-minute. Here's what you've gotten. Okay, if you were a member of MLW's thing, what you got was in the last 3 months. Okay, last 3 months, Joe. If I've been a member to MLW's thing, I got a 4-minute Take the Ride, a Matthew Justice documentary. I got the full Slaughterhouse show, which I feel like was available on YouTube for free, but
that was on YouTube.
Yeah. So 3 weeks ago, I got the Matthew Justice documentary. 1 month ago, I got Slaughterhouse. 3 months ago, I got very old episodes of MLW Underground. And that's it. That's all you got.
So it's basically a lot of archive stuff that you can't get anywhere right now.
Yeah.
And a 4-minute Matthew Justice documentary.
A 4-minute Matthew Justice.
Great.
Yeah.
For what?
Cool.
$6.99 or something.
Yeah.
So
you get Pit Fighters. Remember MLW Pit Fighters? That's available on members only.
So they take them off of YouTube free and put them YouTube paywall after a while, I guess.
Yeah, that's what it looks like.
But I have to say, I have to say, it might not be the worst idea because they're not making any serious money, but they're not going to make any money off it leaving it on YouTube either. Because how many more people are going to watch Pit Fighters after the initial burst? That
right.
That number is going to be what it is. So why not throw all that shit behind an exclusive paywall? And if you can get a couple hundred people a year to fucking pay $7, it's going to make you more money than leaving it on YouTube free would, right? So I don't know. They're all just chasing pennies at this point.
Yeah,
You're really scraping the margins when you're doing this kind of math. We're like, all right, well, if we do 100 subscribers in the next, but if we do another 10,000 views on Pit Fighters, we're gonna make. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know.
But there you go. So a quick lead.
We should probably preview. We should probably preview MLW real quick too, since it's this weekend.
Oh, that's right. That is this weekend. Yeah, real quick. I'll circle back on that.
Yeah, we'll go back to it.
2 more New Japan things. Rest in peace, the KOPW title. It is no more. Quote, after the request of KOPW 2024 champion Great O'Khan on December 22nd, 2024, the IWGP committee has hereby formally retired the KOPW championship. The KOP title was created in July 2020 by Kazuchika Okada, with fan votes determining rules. Over 50 matches were contested for the KOPW championships over its lifespan. On behalf of the IWGP committee, New Japan thanks fans for their support of the KOPW title and for their votes and interactions over the years. RIP KOPW.
Yeah, I mean, there's been a couple fun matches over the years with that, but it's good that they're scaling back. I mean, they need less titles. That's the bottom line. We talk about it all the time. They could probably serve to scale back some more. Get rid of the IWGP Women's title. Just combine it with a Stardom title, or combine it with the New Japan Strong Women's title. That's what I would do with that. That'd be another way to get rid of one. New Japan does not need 2 women's champions and then also a bunch of Stardom champions under the same Bushiroad umbrella. It's ridiculous. You could probably get rid of one of those sets of tag team titles, right? I don't think New Japan Strong needs its own tag team titles. So there's other titles that they can cut back on. So I don't think anyone is upset or angry about this. And they're and honestly, you need wrestlers who are really into the idea of that, who are creative and have ideas.
Yeah,
like
Okan
Yano
was probably the best guy. And I think him now relinquishing the title is probably the best thing, because whoever's going to follow Okan is not going to. That guy had very unique and very smart ideas about it. We saw some really lazy ones when other people had the title. Okan seems like the type of guy who was probably perfect for this thing. And if he's ready to move on, or they're ready to kind of move him into different things, I think it's time to let this thing go. It was a fun diversion for a little bit, but yeah, it's time to get rid of that and be a little more serious with some of these titles.
Yeah.
And then finally, the Chris Charlton suspension. So we briefly discussed the Chris Charlton situation during our Instant Reaction live show, but we now have a little bit more information.
He wasn't suspended yet.
He wasn't suspended. Yeah, yet. We just know that there was heat, right? We just at that time knew there was heat. So we do know that.
We knew that. We didn't even know there was heat. We just knew that he was probably going to be in trouble because it was very collar tuggy the whole time, and we were worried for him because we had a feeling something bad was going to go down because he was really out of line.
So we now know that he will be suspended from on-air duties and commentary on New Japan shows for 2 months, but he will continue to hold his office position with New Japan Pro Wrestling. So everybody kind of agrees on that. Everyone's fine with that. 2 months, continue to hold his office position. He still handles the website and some of the social media stuff or whatever. So everybody agrees on that, right?
He wears many hats.
Right.
He wears many hats.
He does wear many hats. Now, what people don't agree on...
He works his ass off for that company.
Yes, he does. He does a lot. He wears many, many, many hats. Probably too many hats. But here's where things kind of deviate a little bit. Per Dave Meltzer...
And Sean Sapp. The suspension was carried out by New Japan Pro Wrestling and not Tony Khan or AEW. Okay, so that was the report that came out on Monday and was kind of the report that a lot of people had circulated at the beginning of the week. The suspension was carried out by New Japan Pro Wrestling, and Tony Khan and AEW had nothing to do with the suspension. Okay, right? Yeah, so in the middle of the night, I guess we could say it now because they reported it on their show, but Joel actually let us know that he was suspended, and that it was at the time the New Japan office call, and then Dave reported it a few hours later that morning, and then Dave reported it as an indefinite suspension. Sean Ross Sapp followed up a few hours later saying he heard it was 2 months, which is what Joel had initially heard. So I'm thinking to myself, all right, all three of these people are on the same page, so this is obviously a legit story. Sean Ross Sapp also had the same bit that Dave had, that it was carried out by the New Japan office without any AEW influence. and now go on with what we learned today.
Okay, so today on this week's episode of the Super J-Cast on the Voice Wrestling Podcast Network, Joel and Damon, who have it, what they claimed triple sourced on this, triple sourced here, they claim through their sources that Tony Khan himself called for Chris to be punished. I think the word they used was demanded.
Yes, the line was Tony demanded he be punished. That was the line they were given by one of their sources. Right?
Okay.
So that's obviously conflicting information to what Meltzer and Sapp put out. It could also be the same thing. I mean, it could be maybe Tony was upset, talked to New Japan, and New Japan then made the call to suspend him. I don't know. The point is, everyone agrees he's suspended. Let me just say this. I'm friends with Chris Charlton. Let me preface it with that. Full disclosure. I'm friends with the guy. I obviously he lives in a different country, but we message each other back and forth. I just traded very lovely messages with the man on Christmas, for example. So, you know, it's not always just business. You know, I like the guy and I'm friends with him. But I did think as I was watching the show that night, while I think Chris's intent was to, you know, work, or, you know, I thought his intent was probably to push an angle. When I say work, I do think he worked himself into a shoot, so to speak, got high on his own supply a little, and got way out of hand. I thought, you know, the first comment about all billionaires are bad really took me back. And I was like, wow, that's something to say. That's some internet shit. And the thing is, with each increasing comment that he was making, to me, they were coming off like they had a little extra vitriol and hatred behind them than you would typically hear in someone in pro wrestling working, especially an announcer. I think what happened was, I don't think Chris was out there pew-pew shooting on Tony Khan because he doesn't like Tony Khan or has personal issues with Tony Khan. I do think his intent was to work, but I think some of his, and this is just my speculation, I haven't spoken to him about this. I reached out to him, wished him well, and told him I hope that everything's okay. That's all. I haven't spoken to him about it, so these are none of his feelings. I think his intent was to work. I think he got caught up where some of his own personal feelings about AEW's dealings with New Japan kind of got the better of him. And the stuff came out nastier than maybe he wanted them to. Because some of it came across, to me, very vitriolic and very nasty. Some of the stuff he was saying. You know, then calling Tony Khan a money mark and just attacking the booking of Okada and Ospreay and then shitting on the Continental Classic. He could have done all of these things in a working manner that didn't come off as nasty and vitriolic as they did. You know, for example, instead of completely burying this Continental Classic and all of that, he could have been Team New Japan, so to speak, and done it in a way where he was like, yeah, Rocky, the Continental Classic is great, but it's nothing like the G1, which has existed since 19, whatever. You know what I mean? And then it doesn't come off as nasty and mean-spirited as he came. He really came off nasty and mean-spirited. And I haven't spoken to him. I suspect he might agree with that because by the end of the show, he was even backpedaling on some of this. I just feel like he clearly crossed the line and it came off a little too nasty and there was just too much vitriol behind it. And I think that's because some of his I'm sure that he shares a lot of the frustrations as someone who works for the company,
of course,
and loves New Japan. I'm sure he shares a lot of the frustrations that a lot of New Japan fans share with, you know, everything that's happened. AEW, they have the higher ground in the relationship. We all know they've signed a lot of their talent, and it's a frustration point for a lot of New Japan fans. And I think that just came out in what he was attempting to do. And it was all throughout the show. I mean, and to me, my feeling on it was he's probably going to be punished for this. That's what I was thinking in real time. That's what I kind of expressed on the Instant Reaction Live. I felt like if I was in New Japan's shoes, he has to be punished because what it was doing is risking a multi-million-dollar relationship. New Japan makes a lot of money on those Forbidden Door shows. New Japan makes a lot of money on shows like Wrestle Dynasty. New Japan has a working relationship and a talent trade with AEW. And you simply can't poke the wasp nest and annoy the billionaire owner of your $1 million partnership. It's just in the real world that doesn't fly.
Right.
And
we got to think about actual business and actual real world and actual people and actual how these things all work. And yeah, you just can't do that.
And a lot of people in this conversation, I feel like what's happening a lot in this conversation is you have a lot of people who were living vicariously through Chris Charlton on that night because they feel that all the things he was saying about AEW and Tony Khan, and I'm talking about fans, are what these fans feel. And I thought it was probably cathartic for these fans to hear Chris expressing that stuff on a New Japan broadcast. And they're probably over there cheering him on, going, hell yeah, Chris, get him. Got his ass. And they're living vicariously through that. And they're allowing that to cloud their judgment on the real world implications of what Chris did. Okay? This is not the time with something like this to break into your it's childish to think that Charlton, that was okay what he did. He's putting a multi-million-dollar partnership at risk with his words. Okay? So this really separates serious, people who are serious people who want to view this in a real world way from the unserious people who were just living vicariously through his words. And I think fans get wrapped up in that stuff. So I think that's where a lot of the defense comes in. But when you listen to what look, during the show in real time, and look, I don't give a shit either way. Okay? I'm the kind of person who enjoys this kind of shit talk. I say that all the time. I thought a lot of what Chris said was out there and out of pocket, but I had a chuckle at some of it. I'm like, wow, Chris is wild tonight. But I was worried for him because it really did cross the line. So, that's my feeling on it. I understand why he was suspended. Is it too long? I don't know. We don't have a precedent for this. How long is too long and how long is not enough? Did Tony Khan get mad and pressure them to do it? I don't know. According to Super J-Cast sources, Khan was mad. If Khan was mad, I understand why he was mad. I mean, geez. You can do all this. Tony Khan is a thin-skinned bitch nonsense if you want. But listen, I'm here to have an adult conversation about it. So I set all that nonsense aside. You can totally see why the guy would be annoyed.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Well, and one of the things I was saying in real time, too, while that was going on is what Tony has largely shown over the years is that you can say whatever you want about him and you can talk shit about him and all that sort of stuff. He tends to have pretty thick skin on that front. When you start invoking his dad's name or you start talking about his family or you start talking about his wealth, that's when he starts to get a little annoyed. And I wonder if maybe that is what really kind of tipped him off, is that, yeah, you can talk shit about how I book people. You can talk shit about the G1 versus the Continental Classic. You can talk shit about, that's fine. But when you start saying all billionaires are bad and you're just a money mark and that sort of stuff, that's when I think
very personal.
I think that's when Tony goes, okay, now you've passed the line of, we saw that with Effie too. Effie, you can talk all the shit you want about me. The second you put my dad's name in your mouth, now we have a problem. Now you can go to hell.
You've made it personal.
Right.
Yeah.
Now you've made it personal.
Exactly.
Leave my dad out of this. He has nothing to do with this. If you want to talk shit about me and my company and my wrestlers, that's fine. Once you start invoking my dad's name and that sort of stuff, that's when I think it, and that's where I came at it from, is I think Tony, if he would have said whatever he said, but I think the all billionaires are bad and money mark and all that sort of stuff, I think that's when Tony decided, okay, now I think you've passed this line. If Tony really truly did do that, if Tony did truly say, okay, now I want a punishment to happen, which, I trust Joel and David, and I know that they have pretty good sources on that too.
Sources.
They definitely do. So
always.
No, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, obviously Dave and Sean have very good sources too. So I don't know. This is a very weird thing. I don't know where I land on this. I probably tend to agree. I doubt that Tony had nothing to say about this situation. You know what I mean? Like I think it was probably a little bit more of a, there's something.
And look, and this is where people might disagree with me. I think he has a right to be annoyed.
Absolutely. And I think that's where, and like I said, I think he has a right to be annoyed. And I think the invoking certain parts about his wealth and his family and that sort of stuff is probably where Tony drew the line of, okay, now this is not a promotional, you're not putting forward this promotional feud, which there really wasn't a promotional feud. I mean, a little bit, to an extent there was.
Here's the thing. That's the other thing, and that was going to be my next point. This was not built like ECW One Night Stand. Can we stop pretending that this was some show where the theme of the show was those guys hate these guys and these guys hate those guys? There was one match on this show that was built like that, and that was Gabe Kidd, whose entire gimmick is being an edgy boy. That's it. This show was not us against them. This was not ECW One Night Stand. where that the whole build was sniping at each other and everything like that. Chris, who I like and is my friend, okay, went into business for himself. Bottom line. And he could have gotten away with it, but he crossed the line and he made it personal and it came across nasty. And putting myself in New Japan's shoes, I would have punished him in some way too. I am glad the guy didn't lose his job. I was scared he was going to lose his job. And I don't want him to lose his job. I like Chris. I was worried he would lose his job. So, yeah. So I'm glad you brought that up. That's a bunch of nonsense. Okay. I understand he was out there trying to work, but he was doing it all. And that's the other thing. He was doing it all throughout the show. He wasn't just doing it during Gabe's match.
Right.
Okay. And Gabe's whole thing is that he's an edgy boy and he says edgy things. Chris is a television commentator. Okay. And again, he could have done this in a way that wasn't so nasty where it wouldn't have been an issue. But there was a real vitriol. You could hear it in his voice. Again, I think he just worked himself into a shoot and got wrapped up in some of his real feelings.
Yeah, because I think there was a point he could have got. I think it was interesting, and like you said, I don't mind it. I don't mind a little bit of jabbing back and forth, and little, hey, the G1 is still the best. The C2 is not, and I like that, and especially if you had Rocky there to kind of bounce off of him or whatever a little bit. There's a benefit to doing that, but then once you start getting a little too, nobody really. Now you're starting to get into the personal aspects of it and booking and all that sort. It's like, okay, well, if you want to talk about with the in ring, like if you want to keep it in kayfabe, that's fine. If you want to keep it in, the G1 is still the most prestigious tournament. The C2 is,
yes.
That's fine. I like that. Hey, our guys, are better wrestlers than your wrestlers or whatever. That's fine. But when you start getting into they're not booking Okada right and Tony Khan's a money mark, and that's when you start getting into, okay, now what are we doing here? What are we doing here? We're not putting forth a promotional war here. We're just,
and it's also just bad Reddit material at that point. It's he got all wrapped up in it. He got excited. And he made a mistake. Yeah. He's not a bad guy. I'm happy they didn't fire him.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. That would have been firing him would have been too far. I would not have condoned that at all.
Yeah, and it just wasn't. But this, we don't have to pretend it was that kind of show to kind of absolve him. We don't have to pretend that he was going along with, no. Look, Walker Stewart and Rocky Romero were trying to talk him out of his tree because they knew he was out of control. Like Walker Stewart. That wasn't any kind of show directive. Right? Walker Stewart wasn't doing it, and listen, Tony Schiavone was completely out of line the next day with that stupid tweet that he deleted.
Oh yeah,
and
log off,
Tony
dude.
Schiavone,
what are you doing, man? Log the fuck off.
Here's the other thing: that he's supposed to be in a leadership position in that company, and with AEW, no matter what went on or didn't go on behind the scenes, whether Tony made phone calls or not. AEW, there wasn't a peep publicly out of AEW, which, by the way, was the correct way to handle it. That's the correct way to handle it, okay? And then Tony Schiavone has to go on Twitter, of all places, and with just a childish tweet, okay? Just a totally childish tweet, which he quickly deleted because I'm sure his extremely online boss saw it, okay? Because that guy don't miss anything. And then he's conspicuous by his absence on Dynamite, which is explained by a family emergency, which is some interesting timing on a family emergency. Now, I don't know if that's true or not true, but, we were never given an explanation why Excalibur was suspended either when he disappeared off TV for a few weeks. So, look, I don't know. All I know is Tony Schiavone was out of line. This is a guy who I think is on that dopey discipline committee and everything else. He clearly isn't mature enough to be in a leadership position if he's going to fire off shit like that on Twitter. That he was completely out of line, and that's totally unacceptable. Because again, Chris Charlton probably feels terrible. He probably feels terrible that he put this relationship at risk. Okay, and that's what it comes down to. It's you cannot put a major business relationship at risk, and that's what happened. Because he worked himself into a shoot a little bit. And, any other analysis to me is unserious. Any other analysis of this to me is unserious.
Yeah, because we're talking big business here. We're talking big business, big promotions in really in a war as well. Like in a war with WWE and in a war with, just surviving in a business that, is very cutthroat and not exactly at its peak in a lot of ways. And it's like, this promotional partnership is there to, try to make it easier for these two promotions to, survive and make money. And that, putting that in risk to get dunk points is not, that's not serious.
Yeah. Well, all billionaires are bad. All right. Well, that might get over in your group chat, but we're talking about the real world.
Yeah, but believe it or not, a billionaire doesn't like to hear that he's bad. You know what I mean? It's
whatever job you have, go up to the CEO and tell him that you think that rich people suck. See how that gets over. Right, I mean, we're dealing with the real world now. Okay, and in the real world, there's real world consequences to real world things like this. So, I have to approach the conversation that way to do this job. Okay. It doesn't matter. Look, I agreed with some of the things Chris said. Okay, but it's the way that he said them, which was the issue here. So, and it felt out of place. And with each added comment, I was like, man, this is getting weird. It started to get uncomfortable.
Yeah.
So, he'll be back. It's first we heard 2 months, then we heard indefinite, then we heard 2 months. So yeah, he's gonna be out for a while. But he's still employed, and I hope we all just move forward from it. I wouldn't expect him on the Forbidden Door 0 hour. I don't think
he might not get that.
I don't think we're gonna see that one. But I'll tell you what, it wouldn't be the worst thing if Tony invited him back over to do that, and they sat in a room and hashed it out. I think that'd be great.
Of course.
I think that would be fantastic.
And they should. They probably have a lot of wrestling sensibilities that are very, very similar to each other. So they probably should just hash it out and be cool with it. It would be nice.
And I think if Tony can be a bigger person here and invite the guy out, I think it'd be great if we turned on Forbidden Door 0 hour and Chris Charlton was there in his little bow tie, calling Tommy Billington versus Tiger Mask 4, which I did in fact pitch to AEW, and I hope they listen to me.
They better. Come on. We don't know how much more Tiger Mask 4 we're going to have. We might as well do it. Come on.
If you could convince that Grump to come over, I think that Tommy Billington would love that match. I think that the fans, would love that little nod, right? I'm not saying put it on the paper.
Does he come over? How often does he? When's the last time he's been in America? I'm trying to remember. Tiger Mask 4. Let's see if I can figure out the last time. You just got to pick which Tiger Mask.
Didn't he do one with the Forbidden Doors? Nah, he probably.
No, I don't think he did. Shit.
He probably can't be bothered.
I wish they would tell you which fucking. There he is. Okay. It's just there's like 7 Tiger Masks. You got to click around, and you have to guess which one he is. Like,
nah, it's easy to find. Just the latest guy.
No, it doesn't show that. Like, when you look up Tiger Mask, it gives you every Tiger Mask. Yeah. The good. Here's the easy way to do it though. There's a Tiger Mask that has a rating of 9.5 on Cage Match. That's not this one. You can rest assured that's not this one. That is Satoru Sayama. Then you have 9.76. That's also not this one. That's Misawa. And then there's 4.62. You don't have to worry about that. That's Ricky Fuji. So, who apparently played Tiger Mask a couple times. So, and then there's other ones that don't have numbers. So he is the one that has a 6.75 Cage Match, which is probably exactly what I would rate Tiger Mask number 4, right? 6.75-ish. Okay.
That's not right. Yeah, sure.
He does CMLL, so he'll go to Mexico. He was in Mexico earlier this year.
Yeah. Well, look, I think they should try to make that match. The problem is maybe if they ask Tiger Mask, he'll say, I'm not coming over for that fucking money, Mark.
Right. As he takes a drag of a cigarette. Fuck that.
Yeah. So, listen, Chris, I know you're probably listening to this. We love you, buddy. It's going to be okay. And we're very glad they didn't can you. I think that would have been, I was scared for you though. I gotta be honest. I know I said the same thing in the little message I sent you, but I was worried for you, but hopefully this gets, it's all, look, I think New Japan is just going to quietly not even ever mention this. And then hopefully it could all be forgotten and we could all move on.
So, and Chris is also like one of the best commentators in wrestling right now. So
he's gotten so good.
He has gotten fucking so great. Good. Yeah. So that's another thing too, where it's like, it's going to suck for 2 months that he's not there, but yeah, he's so valuable to New Japan Pro Wrestling and to New Japan Pro Wrestling for an English audience that, he's very, very good at what he does. Incredibly good at what he does. Him and Walker, the chemistry that they developed over the last year is second to none. I mean, they are a unbelievably great team together. So
he's laying low right now, but I love him, burying me in the DMs too when he doesn't like something I say on this show. It's just so much fun. So just it's
All right, so we have some Gran Akuma, who's in the chat room, always listening live. Thank you. Okay. Says, I was on a U.S. show with Tiger Mask 4 in 2007. Here we go. You're going to love this.
Yeah.
Quote, the man is cool as hell, honestly. Loves Jerry Springer. Seriously.
Hey, who doesn't?
I love the idea of Tiger Mask. Like, how did that come up? You know what I mean? Because he had to bring that up, right? Like,
it's
Tiger
so
Mask
weird.
had to bring up that I like Jerry Springer. Because how does, 2007 is not exactly the peak Jerry Springer. At some point in the backstage conversation between Gran Akuma and Tiger Mask 4, the idea that Tiger Mask 4 loves Jerry Springer came up. Right?
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. That's it's weird because I had a dream about Jerry Springer last night. That's so crazy.
Well, there's a new doc out about him. I think maybe you were scrolling on was it Netflix? It might actually literally be on Netflix. Yeah, Netflix, the Jerry Springer Show documentary. So maybe you were watching Raw and you saw Jerry Springer's face on Netflix and you had a dream about it. Or you just dream about Jerry Springer. That's fine too.
Maybe. We're being told Black Bart passed away.
Black Bart. Okay.
So I knew he was ill. So I'll tell you what. Why don't next week we circle back?
Yeah, let's talk Black Bart next week.
And we'll give Black Bart the obit treatment, of course. Briefly, a Mid-Atlantic guy. People might remember him from ESPN, where he had a presence on Global. In the 90s, though, whenever he would pop up in WWF or WCW, he was basically an enhancement talent on television by that point. But Black Bart was a guy who was a pushed commodity in a lot of the territories in the 80s. Mostly Mid-Atlantic is where I remember him from. But I will brush up on Black Bart. He's someone who I do think I'm familiar enough with where we can give the full obit treatment, though.
Oh, yeah, but, for sure. And his career is fun, too, because he's one of those classic 80s dudes that just basically bounce around to every territory. Like, back in the day, there's a lot of guys that do that. As I'm doing this Tour of the Territory series, I'm trying to highlight every single wrestler the first time they appear. Okay, here's a little bit of this guy's story. And so many of these guys are, like we always say, they would just work a place and they'd do their little run there and then they'd move on. And they'd go, and if you look at Black Bart, it's like Mid-Atlantic, Southeast, Championship Wrestling for Florida, Mid-Atlantic, World Class, Universal, back to Mid-Atlantic, back to World Class, back to Universal, Memphis, then to the WWF, finally. But like in those 80s, they will just go wherever, you know what I mean? You do your little run, and especially Black Bart, a big dude or whatever, does his little run, and then he bounces to the next place. But yeah, it was able to go to all those different places. But yeah, probably most famously a part of WWF. But we'll discuss that a little bit more next week.
I disagree. I think he'd be most famous for Mid-Atlantic and his tag team with Ron Bass, who was a very similar wrestler to him.
That's probably. I figure most eyeballs would have seen him, but I guess he was pretty irrelevant in WWF.
Yeah, he's just he's a TV jobber, basically. He never got a push or anything. I don't think he ever worked pay-per-views. He's just a jobber by that point. But Ron Bass got there before he did, and he got a modicum of a push. He had to feud with Brutus Beefcake, and he got booked on pay-per-views and things like that. Ron Bass was basically the more Vince McMahon idealized version of that gimmick than Black Bart. Do you know what I mean when I say that? Ron Bass was more. Yeah, so, but, they were a tag team for years, in a lot of different places. But, and then Black Bart, after he did all those jobs on TV, on WWF syndicated TV, he got sort of that second life for Global, where he was a great fit for Global because he was a guy who, had wrestled all over the territories, like you said. So we're kind of jumping ahead, but I would rather do it next week when we have more time to really flesh it out. But Black Bart, for me at least, his career basically is the guys from that era. I followed all of their careers because that's when I was reading the Aftermags, and then it bled into my newsletter reading days. So I'm pretty familiar with Black Bart. I think we can do him justice rather than squeezing in a little 10-minute segment here. We can circle back next week. We can watch some stuff and do a little research and really do it right rather than just blowing through it. Upon just finding out. But I think he was ill. I think
so I have it right here. So December 24th, 2024, Dutch Mantell on his podcast reported that Black Bart was battling stage 4 liver cancer, and he went home from the hospital because his insurance ran out. It was also reported that he would be ceasing to do chemotherapy treatment, and he passed away on January 9th.
Yeah. So, yeah, sad stuff. A lot of people opt for that. They don't want to go through the chemo, and yeah. So we'll do the Black Bart obit next week. So everybody brush up on Black Bart.
Yeah, get ready. Watch your tapes. All right.
Yeah.
A few more topics here before we say goodbye. MLW. You want to talk about MLW Kings of Coliseum? You going, Joe? You going to North Richland Hills,
No,
Texas?
I'm not going to go.
The NITEX Sports Center? Come on.
I thought about it. I've had people ask. I can't justify the 4-hour drive. I can't do it. What day of the week is it?
That is Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, if the Rams beat the Vikings, they won't. Well, that's this Saturday.
This Saturday.
Oh, yeah. No, the Rams are playing Monday, but I can't. I'm not making a 4-hour drive.
It's a long drive.
I can't do
That's
it.
a long
It's
drive.
all right. So that's the Kings of Coliseum. So we've got Kojima defending against Riddle. I know we say it every time, but this is where Kojima loses the title, right? I mean,
It has to be.
They've been building towards this. And,
yeah, I would bet. I don't know if I'd bet the house, but I would bet a significant amount of units that Matt Riddle finally upsets, because it would make no. I mean, come on, what are we doing here?
Yeah. So and they've been building towards that. I know didn't Riddle win the AEW title?
He did. He won the in Chicago. I didn't go to the show because it was the same day as World's End, but yeah, he won the AEW title here in Chicago.
Yeah.
Defeated Beef, all caps, to win that title.
All right. So I think he's going to win the MLW world title for the second time. Say this second time.
I think you're right.
No, he's never held it.
Oh, he
No,
never
he's
did. I
held
thought
it.
he beat Strickland for it all those years ago. Did he not?
So did I. No, low key.
Oh, of course. Remember MLW? There was a point where MLW where they had Loki and Teddy Hart, when everybody knew that Loki and Teddy Hart were like malcontents that nobody could, and they were fine. I saw them interact. I was at a show once, and I saw Loki walk up, and I saw Teddy Hart walk up, and I was like, oh boy, this is going to be interesting. And they just said, hey, how's it going? And shook each other's hands and then walked the other way. And I was like, wow, unbelievable.
Court's the whisperer. So what you're confused is Strickland beat Riddle for the vacant MLW.
Okay.
When they brought the company back from the dead.
Got it. Okay. I for some reason I thought, but yeah, that makes sense that he was in the title match, but it was vacant at the time. That makes sense.
Yeah. So he'll win it there. Janai Kai versus Delmi Exo. Remember, this is the title versus hair.
Oh yeah,
title versus hair for this one.
Is Janai Kai going to cut like her like little? I mean, she doesn't have much hair. I figure if she loses this hair match, not that bad. Not that but I guess she would. Yeah. She's only putting her title up, and Delmi is putting the hair up. I would assume.
Correct.
Right. Okay. So I don't think Delmi's going bald here. I think Janai Kai's probably losing this title.
Yes. Eric Bischoff's Gravity Gamble match.
Innovative.
Yes. TNA hasn't been doing this for a decade. Matthew Justice, Mads Krugar, Brett Ryan Gosselin, Akira, and Kevin Knight, who appears to be headed towards free agency. Kevin Knight.
Yeah. It does not look like he'll be back.
Commodity on free agency. We have
You're not coming for this. This isn't worth an 8-hour drive in one day. Come on.
I thought about it. I can't do it. Atlantis and Atlantis Jr. versus Blue Panther and Dark Panther.
I know that this match got you. I know that as close as you got to doing this was this match. You read this match and went, okay.
Yeah.
It's not that bad. You know what I mean? If I leave early.
Yeah, I don't leave early, though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's a policy of mine. And Kenta versus Dijak. And then they are doing the TV taping as well. Whoa. A lot of stuff. Mystico defends against Barbero Cavernario, the middleweight title. Minoru Suzuki versus Tom Lawlor. Paul London and Paul Walter Hauser versus the Andersons. Remember, they shot the angle on the last show.
Yeah, Texas Tornado, by the way, this one.
Well, of course, the Andersons, they don't let Brock wrestle straight tag matches.
They can't let Brock tag in and out. He's that bad that he can't tag? Like
I don't understand.
He literally cannot tag
in
or out. I don't know. It's very strange.
Same thing with the Von Erichs. They did the same thing with the Von Erichs. I don't understand. Like, the working standard is so high in MLW.
I was going to say, it's ML fucking W. I think Brock Anderson is fine, given, Paul Walter Hauser's in the match. I mean, is it more for Hauser than it is for... But no. They've done it with Brock a bunch of times, so no, it's not.
They do it with Brock every time. They don't let him have regular tag matches. I don't know why. Maybe I should go to the show and ask these investigators.
There it is. You got to get on there. Get over there. Come on.
But they didn't give you Court last time. They gave you wrestlers. I don't
want
wrestlers.
They give me wrestlers. Yeah, I don't want wrestlers. Yeah.
Virus versus Neon. That's a clash of styles. Averno versus Mascara Dorada. I don't know why I pronounced it like an Italian guy making pizza.
Mascara Dorada.
Pronounced like Luigi Primo. Bobby Fish versus Ariel Dominguez. And Alejandra Quintanilla versus Persephone.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about Alejandra Quintanilla. Again, I'm saying it like an Italian guy, but I'm sure it's a luchadora.
Yeah.
Yeah, she wrestles for River City Wrestling in San Antonio, amongst some other places. So a local Texas lady, Alejandra Quintanilla. I know nothing about her. So that's the that's not a hop, skip, and a jump from San Antonio either. Geez, she's making the hike.
Yeah. Because where's it? This is what, Dallas suburb?
Yeah.
Okay. What town was it? Did I say North? Whatever the fuck.
North Richland.
North Richland. Yeah.
Yeah. They're going back there for Fightland in September.
Okay.
So it's a regular stop.
You going to that one? You going to that one or what? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not. What else we got?
All right. I watched New Japan Pro Wrestling New Year Wars from January 3rd, 2025.
All Japan.
All Japan. Korakuen Hall show. 1339 in Korakuen Hall for All Japan. This show blew away that show that we covered last week. We covered the December 31st show with the Saito versus Jun Saito versus Davey Boy Smith Jr. And the rest of the show was just kind of whatever. And this show was great. There is a couple matches that you have not watched this yet, so I'm not gonna spoil it too much for you. I will just tell you real quickly.
Date on this?
This is 1-3. Maybe we can come back next week and have a longer discussion about this. So,
go ahead and talk about it.
Well, there are 3 matches on the show that I want to talk about that really stand out. The first one was Yuma Aoyagi versus Fuminori Abe. This rocked. This was 13 minutes, and every single second of these 13 minutes was action. And it wasn't all like, stiff strikes or kicks the whole time. A lot of ground-based stuff, but always moving. You know what I mean? Everybody was in a submission and working in to make it either a better submission or transition it into another submission. Then they would get up and then they would counter and they would it was brilliant work. It was really, really good, very fluid work, fast-paced, and the crowd was super into it too, knowing that every single thing is getting reversed into a reversal, and it's all about the, getting the leverage and getting an arm and getting a leg and doing these sort of things. So it all worked pretty well. So I think if you're into that sort of style of wrestling, you're going to love this match. Yume Aoyagi, Fuminori Abe. Aoyagi gets the win, but it was one of those matches that it's like at any point anybody could win, and it just so happened that Aoyagi, was able to get the win. You know what I mean? Just it was one of those. It was just like a perfectly contested, ground-based, wrestling match, all action the entire time. Definitely go out of your way to check that match out. Love that. But it was not the best match on the show. Best match on the show was the semi-main event, Yuma Anzai versus Satoru Ashino. And Joe, the reason I know that you're going to love this match is Yuma Anzai busted open hard way. So he's having this brutal match with Ashino, just covered in blood, throwing these knees, kicking out at one. This was awesome. And I know you're a big Ashino guy. I love Ashino. You and I both like Anzai. I know for a fact you're going to love this match. Go out of your way to check out Satoru Ashino, Yuma Anzai. This one was brutal. Like I said, Abe and Aoyagi was very much kind of submission and ground and all this sort of stuff. Not this match. This was guys dropping each other on their heads, guys chopping each other, slapping each other, all that sort of stuff. All punctured and all culminated with Anzai getting busted open and it just making that much better of a match. Him just gushing blood as these two guys are in here working and slapping and kicking and punching and stuff. So yeah, go out of your way to check that match out. And then actually the main event I enjoyed a little bit. Not as much as I enjoyed those other 2 matches, but the Saito brothers defending their All Japan World Tag Team titles against Daisuke Sakamoto and Hideki Suzuki, which was actually a very fun dynamic because Sakamoto would go in there, and you know what his strategy is I'm going to lift these fuckers and drop them on their head. And he does. So he chops them, then he lifts them up, and he drops them on their head, and then he tags in Hideki Suzuki, and Suzuki's, I'm going to work these guys over. I'm going to submit them. I'm going to work on their arms. I'm going to work on their legs. I'm going to work on their necks, like that sort of stuff. So a really interesting dynamic there with Sakamoto and Suzuki against the Saitos, who are like now getting very good as a tag team. Like they're really good at harnessing their big man stuff. And this very much felt like here's two big men in the ring with two guys that know that they can't really. Well, Sakamoto, he doesn't care. He's just going to lift them up and do the shit anyway because he's just a dumb jock. But Suzuki realizing, well, I just got to get these guys on the ground and work them off, work them that way, as opposed to, really doing any other offense because I can't because these guys are so gigantic. So it worked out pretty well. It definitely worked. Saito's got the win. Definitely recommend checking out those 3 matches from the show. The others were, not really much else on the show that you need to really go out of your way to watch. There was a Davey Boy Smith, Kento Miyahara, and Ryo Inoue versus Cyrus, Hakoto Amore, and Kumarashi. That was just okay. Davey Boy's, not good at all. So that was not that good. Ren Ayabe and Riki Honda versus Hartley Jackson and Jack Kennedy. It's Ren Ayabe. I know you're out anyway. And then there was just a random throw everybody else on the show in an opening tag match as well. But Yuma Aoyagi, Fuminori Abe, Yuma Anzai, Shotaro Shino, and Saitos versus Sakamoto and Hideki Suzuki. Go out of your way to watch all 3 of those. 1-3, All Japan Pro Wrestling.
Yeah. Good reviews on Cage Match for all those matches too. So, all right. What else we got here? I wanted to discuss some year-end awards, not anything super deep or anything. You want to get that in now and then?
Yeah, sure. Then we'll do WrestleMania
right, so
Weekend.
I was looking at because Dave sent out the ballot for the year-end awards, and I've seen some outlets doing their year-end award stuff. Did you see the section for Rookie of the Year? Did you happen to see that?
I heard there was an issue with it, but I did not see it. No.
Well, the issue is he listed about 100 wrestlers, like legit. And I don't know who the fuck any of these people are. Normally he'll give suggestions and it'll be like, 12 people or something. Most of them are like NXT people who haven't even been on TV or have barely been on TV. For instance, for one of the top contenders here, of which he lists 100 guys, he lists Trey Bearhill. Do you remember Trey Bearhill, Rich?
Trey Bearhill.
From the NXT, where he was going to be in one of the tournaments, but then he got attacked with a chair by Lexus King and then ended up not being in the tournament.
Oh, that guy. Yeah.
So Trey Bearhill, Rich.
Who was voting him?
has wrestled, you ready for this? 3 matches on TV since last September, because, Rookie of the Year goes from September of the previous year through, right? So one was a level up loss to Miles Bourne in 3 minutes, and then 2 NXT losses in 4 minutes and 2 minutes to Dijak and Lexus King.
We don't need to have this guy.
Dave,
don't list him.
There is no reason to put this guy on the ballot for rookie. I think Dave listed every rookie who wrestled in wrestling this year on here. But anyway.
It's probably, did somebody just do the work? I wonder if somebody did the work and said, hey, Dave, here's every rookie this year. And then he just copy and pasted the whole thing.
He put every NXT wrestler that debuted. It looks like he put every Joshi that debuted. It looks like he put a bunch of random indie wrestlers. I mean, this list, I don't know what the fuck this is. This is just going to confuse people. But anyway, sifting through this list of what legitimately, there has to be at least 100 names on this list. I'll throw some at you because I don't know where I'm going with this. Let's see. We've got Adriana Rizzo, who I think is the broad from the NXT Italian group with the bad accent.
Correct. Yeah.
The SNL, I don't think anyone's going to be voting for her. How about Maxine Dupree? Dupree for Rookie of the Year?
All right. I mean, you can. I would hope that you have a better vote for Rookie of the Year than Maxine Dupree, but yeah, that's not a great vote.
Zilla Fatu.
Zilla Fatu.
No, these are some of the better choices.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, we'll keep him on the short list, I guess, but that's not great.
Yeah, well, all the New Japan Young Lions, obviously. So won't go through those. KC Kazana of the NWA, the other Kazana brother. We have This will probably be my pick, but we got Zozaya. What about Zozaya?
Oh, I like Zozaya. Yeah. Okay, I'm in. Put a circle or a pin or whatever you want in that one for sure.
You got one that you might vote for finally. Okay. How about the Bozilla? Are you a fan of the Bozilla?
I like the Bozilla, but probably not going to be my vote. But I do like the Bozilla. The Bozilla's solid.
I got one for you. Lord Crew. He's got Lord Crew on there, Rich.
Lord Crew.
Apparently eligible to be voted for.
Lord Crew.
We liked the Lord Crew.
I did like the Lord Crew. Where's he been? Where has the Lord Crew been?
Well, let's set aside that he's 36 and has been wrestling for 10 years. Let's set that aside.
He's 36.
Let's set that aside.
Hey, it doesn't matter how old you are. It's when you start. I mean, yeah, he's been wrestling for years, but he's had 200 matches or 300 matches under his belt, but that's fine. Yeah, regardless.
If one New Japan, All Japan tour is good enough. I mean, the guy wrestled the Champion Carnival. So, look, he might have been in my top 3. I cannot in good conscience vote for a guy who has a full head of gray hair and has been wrestling for a decade for Rookie of the Year. I understand he just made his major league debut in All Japan. Couple matches for the NWA.
The spirit of the award kind of hurts for a guy who's been wrestling since
I can't do it. I can't do it.
He's been wrestling since like the Obama administration, so I can't vote for that guy.
Did an AEW job in September.
Yeah.
With your boy Ren Jones.
Oh yeah. I love Ren Jones.
You know. But
John Cruz, Lord Crew, and Ren Jones. What a crew that was. Yeah. Hell yeah.
That one stood out to me. Ichiban, the big Ichiban guy.
Which Ichiban? Wait, Ichiban? He's a rookie?
So he's on the list.
Okay, all right.
I'm just reading off the list, sir.
All right.
Javon Evans, who will probably win.
Oh, yeah, that's a good, yeah.
Probably going to win, right?
Yeah.
All the Japanese young boys, I'm not going to go through them. You know who they are. There's a couple luchadors. Oh, Persephone is also on the list.
Mm-hmm.
Epitomus Jr. I don't see my boy Odashima. Was he last year? Let me look that up. Daiki Odashima, who's really come on strong lately.
Yeah, I don't know what he would have been.
He should be on the list. He started this year. He started 2024. He's got 100 people on this fucking list. And he doesn't have Odashima, who's been wrestling like on every Noah show since, you know what? He's going to put him next year because he started in September. I'm sorry, Dave. I'm sorry for yelling at you. I don't think you're listening, but he started in September.
I'm also not sure, Dave. I don't think Dave puts this list together, to be honest. I would assume somebody does.
I think he's going to put him on next year, though, because he started in September.
Okay.
Because you can't be eligible 2 years in a row. And the cutoff is September, right? So that would explain it. I got mad, and then I figured it out live on the air. So I don't have to rub
apologies, Dave Meltzer. Yeah.
Yeah, I think going through this, I'd have to go with Zozaya. I think he is more impressive at this point than some of those New Japan Young Lions. Even though it's a little unfair because he has more experience, but because he wrestled Rev Pro this year, Dave's getting him in there. So,
yeah, the three that stood out to me was Zozaya, Bozilla, and Javon Evans. It's probably those three, I think, maybe.
Yeah, and then whichever New Japan guy you might like, or some of the young boys from some of the other companies that I don't know if any have stood out for you. You know, some years some do.
Yeah, I don't think so.
This award, but none of them are having the quality of matches that Zozaya is having. None of them, even if functionally some of them might be better functional workers, I'm not even sure if that's true. But I think Javon Evans is probably going to walk away with this. Although there's a lot of NXT competition that can split the vote. There's a million NXT names on this list. I mean, Carly Bright is on the list, Rich.
Oh, shit. Well, there's my vote. Never mind. You didn't tell me Carly Bright was there. Yeah.
Kendall Gray. Zeta Steele. Something called Sage Chance.
Sage Chance. You made that one up. That's
Tommy Rant.
Sage Chance.
Dylon Stewart.
Sage Chance that's a poor name, right?
Tyler Shoop.
Alexander Lev.
I don't know who any of these people are. Charity King.
Okay, these are just porn names. These are not
Danny
wrestlers.
B.
You know Danny B. Yeah, you know Danny B.
I do.
I think if it's the one I think, Danny B. Yeah, she did some NWA shots, I want to say.
Well, I'm not voting for her. How about Oka
Well, you don't
Sasaki?
watch. Oh, you know what? You don't watch Deadlock. She does some Deadlock stuff too. That's how I know Danny B. New Texas Pro. She does a little New Texas Pro too.
How about Oka Sasaki?
Okay.
I wouldn't vote.
I don't think he's very good, but
how about Yu Owada? There's a good one.
oh, yeah, okay. I feel like Sasaki didn't he debut? Yeah, hold on a minute. He debuted in November, technically November 2023, but then
he counts.
But full time in I see. Okay.
Yeah, after September.
Right. Okay, I see.
I think I hit the Josie section. Azusa Anaba, Sayaka Kurara, Rana Yagami, Ryan, Yuta Takami. You know any of these people?
No.
Chika Nanase.
Nobody yet.
Kira Summer, Zara Zucker, Kamomo Manami, Ria Saeto, Zeta Steele, Anita Vaughn. All right, we're out of the Joshi, I think. Mark Empire. You familiar with Mark Empire? I mean, he just put everyone on this thing.
I think that's what Eric Bischoff calls his fans, right? Isn't that called the Mark?
All right, that's enough for the rookie candidates. Who's your MVP this year?
I think it's Will Ospreay.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Now, Wrestler of the Year. Now we're going observer vernacular.
Yeah,
okay,
that's fine.
So you still pick them for MVP.
I'm still picking. Yeah, because one of the issues that I run into all the time when people talk about the Flair Thez Award is it's not called the Hulk Hogan Award, and that's my new argument that I use with everybody. It's not called the Hulk Hogan Award because everybody goes, well, it's got to be Cody because Cody's the top star in WWE and WWE made the most money. Okay, yeah, but it's not the Hulk Hogan Award. It's the Flair Thez Award for a reason. It's supposed to be a blended award of in-ring and business. But like with the Observer Hall of Fame, we seem to give 90% of the credit to a draw and then 10% to a wrestler. But if you look historically at people that have won that award, it usually goes to guys who have had fantastic in-ring years as well. And I don't think Cody had a fantastic in-ring year at all in 2024. So I think I see a lot of people go to Cody. I see a lot of people go to Bryan Danielson. If you want to say Danielson, I might be okay with that. My pick is fucking Will Ospreay because no one's been a better wrestler in the world than Will Ospreay was last year.
You're going Will for MVP and the most outstanding.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I think Will is my most outstanding. I'm going to go, I think Cody is the MVP because I think that I can't in good conscience go with anybody in AEW for MVP with the business year they had. You know, so it's like it's business, it's in ring, it's everything. It's the MVP is the totality of it all. And while I agree with what you're saying about the match quality, that Cody cannot match these other people. Okay, that there's no doubt about that. But I think Cody's work is good enough to where it wasn't a detriment. And he's obviously been an enormous star all year. He had WrestleMania built around him, and WrestleMania wasn't meant to build around him. The fans picked him, and they forced the company's hand. And he's obviously a massive merch pusher. He sells tickets. He's a television draw.
What was the best Cody Rhodes match this year? What was the best Cody Rhodes match of 2024?
Well, I think that all of his title matches fell in the 3 to 3 3/4 range. So you're not going to get me. Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, that should be a big part of the Flair Thez Award. Should be having a good in-ring year.
Absolutely. But so should everything else. Drawing ability, being a major star. And I feel like he has what Ospreay doesn't have, and Ospreay has what he doesn't have. So then it becomes down to what do you value more?
Yeah.
And I don't think that Ospreay is a bad pick or anything. He'd probably be in my top 3. But when I think about the worldwide MVP in wrestling, I don't think I can truly justify anyone over Cody. I don't. WrestleMania made $1 kajillion and it was built around him. And again, Did he have a litany of great matches? No, he didn't. But he didn't have bad matches either. Like, the Gunther match at Crown Jewel was a good match. The Kevin Owens match, the Kevin Owens stuff it was good. You know what I mean? There's not much you can do with Solo Sikoa. I don't think anybody would hold that against him. I understand your argument. I can't sit here and run off look, the FSM 50's coming out. Spoiler alert. I don't think Cody's going to do all that great. He's not going to be in top 5. You know what I mean? So it's like, he was, the WrestleMania match is not the kind of match that people like you and me are going to go crazy over. So, I get it. I get that. But at the same time, what money did any of these people in AEW draw?
No,
none.
But none. But Conor Murphy brings up a very good point. They don't draw television ratings. No.
They don't draw money. They don't sell tickets. So it's hard for me for MVP. That's why we have most outstanding. Because that's
right. But then call this thing the Hulk Hogan Award, then and just give it to the biggest draw in the world.
You could, but here's the thing: if there was a great worker who also marginally drew a bit, I'd have them over Cody. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't have anywhere else to turn. Where else am I going to go with it? Because AEW had such a poor year. None of those people are popping quarter hours. None of those people are selling tickets. If they were at least, if Swerve or Will Ospreay or any of these people were popping quarter hours, I can then justify it somehow. And I say, at least they're moving television business, or, they're, some pay-per-view did 250,000 buys or something. I can point to that, but I can't. I'm trying and I can't.
Well, then vote him best box office draw then. Because I think...
I would love to, but because of people like you don't vote on that anymore.
Right.
It's not a voting category for some reason. So, that's my mindset when it comes to it. I thought AEW and New Japan had such poor business years that I can't justify voting for the great worker who also did enough for business, because nobody did anything for business outside WWE. That's the way I'm looking at it. So I have a reluctant vote for Cody, because you're right. There's almost no meat on the bones with the matches. Okay. But where else am I going to turn?
Right. So, and as Conor Murphy points out in the chat room, spent a lot of the year being second fiddle to the Bloodline, despite being the champion in the company.
He did. It's not like, I don't see Cody as some great slam dunk pick like we have some years, right? I see him as the best of a pile of very flawed candidates.
Yeah, it's not a great year. It's not a great year for him. But if you look at the history of the award, and this is a big reason why I tend to think is like Ric Flair won in 1989 and 1990 for WCW.
Bad business. Yeah.
Terrible business. Plummeting business. Like going, completely. 1992, he won for the World Wrestling Federation, and he was, not a draw in the WWF, to the point where Vince failed on the guy.
Yeah, see, that's a pretty good example, though, of the other company was in the shitter. Okay. Off the top of my head, I don't know where you would turn Rest of the World in 1992. Right. But that's a good example of, okay.
You should have went to Mexico really for 92, probably,
Yeah. A little early. Yeah. 93, 94 is really when it started to pop, but yeah, that's a good example of, okay, he came to the new company and no one's going to dispute his in-ring, and he did enough business. Even if he wasn't some big, huge business driver, he did enough for business. My problem with the AEW candidates is who did anything for business and on any, from any standpoint.
Pretty much none of them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a horrible year. I mean, I just can't justify it. And when I have the most outstanding to fall back on, I know I could give that to Will Ospreay, which, by the way, that's a no-brainer to me. Will Ospreay is a no-brainer. So I guess we move on to that. Most outstanding, I guess, if you're giving Will the MVP, you'd give him most outstanding as well, or are you going to surprise?
Yeah. No, he's getting both. He's getting both for me.
Danielson. A lot of people were down on Danielson's stuff. Look, I think that's crazy. I think he had a million great matches. Yeah. I mean, I would even consider maybe putting him over Will, but I can't pull the trigger on that. But yeah, I think most outstanding is pretty easy. Tag team, we've talked about a little bit already. My pick's the Saito's. I think there's only 3 real contenders: the Saito's, Fraxium, and the Bucks. And I'm going to go with the Saitos on the basis of by the end of the year, the company was really built around them. I mean, you just watched another show that they headlined.
Yeah.
So
1336 in Korakuen, yeah.
Yeah, they've gotten over to the point where the company by the end of the year they were the headliners more than Yuma Aoyagi, more than Kento Miyahara, who was depushed. Yuma Anzai was not pushed by the end of the year. It was the Saitos company by the end of the year, and they had good enough matches. And there's no other promotion in the world that at any point was built around a tag team. And Fraxium was really good in the ring, but they were an undercard act. And the Bucks were much better than people give them credit for in the ring, but I'm dinging them for the awful gimmick.
The awful gimmick, and then now telling everybody, oh, we were bad on purpose. So actually, it's a good gimmick that we were fucking shit the whole year, or we were being bad on purpose. And so, but yeah, they ultimately had a pretty good year, like we talked about. We talked about a couple times that if you actually look at the Bucks year, it's actually a pretty good year. But the gimmick was so terrible that I could conscious vote for him.
Yeah. I guess we should bring up Mystico as an MVP contender too, for sure. He'd probably be my number 2. In fact, he might end up being my number 1. I might go Mystico over.
Might feel a little bit better about that one because a little bit more in ring
because he has a blend of everything.
Yeah,
he's got the blend of everything. So that might be the droid I'm looking for, so to speak, because no one else has the blend of everything. No one who in Japan?
Oh no, nobody in Japan.
I mean, so Kaito Kiyomiya, that's a stretch to me.
No.
So for me, for my sensibilities, it comes down to Cody and Mystico.
Yeah, that's fair.
So we're not going to do all these. I'm gonna bounce around. A popular best on interviews I see is Drew.
Drew's pretty good.
I don't hate that.
No, he was really good this year. he was of a guy that could blend the two. There's nobody in AEW that I think has been good on interviews this year, which is very annoying because that company was so good at promos. No.
I agree, because Eddie Kingston wasn't around, and you know who's a sneaky one is Will Ospreay.
Will's pretty good at promos. Yeah, that's actually a good one.
He's a sneaky one. But Drew. See, I wouldn't consider Punk for this because I think so many of his promos go over the heads of their audience.
No, your promos have to be good for your audience, and his promos are the absolute opposite. They're the antithesis of what he makes these references that his audience doesn't react to. Yeah. So
I think Drew is
Drew's good. Drew is really good.
Legitimate contender for that.
Drew or Will, I think I'd be fine with those.
Promotion of the year is based on what you value. If it's just your entertainment, you're going to vote on your entertainment. I don't look at it that way. I look at it as a blend. I look at business. And I look at it as and then also my entertainment. WWE should run away with this if it's just business. There should be no one else in the discussion. But I think it's a terrible on-screen product, which leaves me in a real conundrum. So this is very similar to Cody and Mystico to me. I think CMLL is really the only other place you can turn. Where else are you going to go? I cannot, in good conscience, put AEW.
No, not with the year that not with the no, not with the business year, not with the business year they had.
So then, where else are you going to go? I mean,
yeah,
Impact had a nice little bounce back year, but let's be realistic. They can't be promotion of the year. It can't be New Japan, as they just chug along with their 1% growth and their boring shows. It's not Noah, forget it. The way they're booked. All Japan, I thought, had a stronger year the year before, although they were good. They were pretty good this year.
Yeah, they had a good-ish business year this year, but in ring, I don't think they were as good as they were a couple years ago or 2 years ago or whatever. So, no, it's got to be CMLL or WWE, I would say.
Yeah, I mean, I can't get into Dragon Gate. Maybe someone goes there. AAA, I mean, please.
No. I refuse. I refuse to vote for AAA.
Now, if you're someone who just votes for your enjoyment, you can vote for anyone.
Sure, of course.
I can't do that. I mean, I can't give promotion to the year to a promotion that I really enjoyed that drew $0 or lost money. Goes against the spirit of the award to me. Let's bounce around a little. We won't do match of the year because that's a whole separate thing that we do. Japan MVP. I think that's an interesting one to talk about. I don't know.
Japan.
I mean,
Japan MVP.
that's really hard. There is no obvious candidate. There's no one I feel good about.
Japan MVP. Yeah, that's yeah, very weird year in Japan that nobody. I guess Kaito Kiyomiya, but I don't like that. I guess Tetsuya Naito, but I don't like that either.
I mean,
is there someone we're missing?
You could see why Tokyo Sports gave it to Zack Sabre Jr. They just threw their hands and said,
"Fine, here you go.
Fuck it, give it to the IWGP champion because that's the easiest thing to do." I honestly might abstain from that.
That's a toughie. Yeah, that's a tough one.
Now Mexico MVP is easy. That's Mystico.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
There's not even a contender. It's Mystico. European MVP. It's got to be someone in Rev.
Luke Jacobs or something like that, I guess.
Luke Jacobs or Oku. One of those two. Because there's no NXT UK to look at as something cheap. Progress may as well not exist.
Yeah, Karen Noir is not getting my pick for who's the one that you always bring up? Who's the fucking Progress wrestler you always I'm blanking on it right now. There's someone
Progress?
Who's like a shitty Progress wrestler that you always bring up anytime we talk about Progress?
I mean, just throw a dart.
Oh, Gene Money. Gene Money is the one.
Gene Money?
Gene Money's the one you always bring up. You're like,
cover it with the nipple tape.
Gene Money on that show. I'm like, yeah, here's Gene Money. Fucking Gene Money. It's not Gene Money. Yeah. Fucking Progress.
Non-heavyweight MVP. You think about this a second.
Non-heavyweight.
There's Templario. There's Darby Allin. There's
it's probably Darbs. Yeah, it might be Darby. Sting match. C2.
Yeah.
Darby's had a pretty good year. Who are the other good, top of my head junior heavyweights in the world? There's not a lot of spectacular junior heavyweights right now.
Dope.
Yeah, okay. I could buy that. I could buy Doki.
Women's MVP.
That's gonna
everyone's
be
telling me everyone's telling me Sari.
She should be. Yeah, if you watch enough, she should absolutely be the women's MVP.
Okay, I will take people's word for it. All I know is that Athena and Rhea Ripley are going to get a bunch of votes they don't deserve. Rhea Ripley never wrestles.
Never wrestles. Yeah, is.
And Athena, I don't know if I've busted out this hot take yet. She might be the most overrated wrestler in the business.
Oh, no, by far. I love that everybody, and this happens every couple of days in our Discord, I jump in, and everyone's booking Athena versus Mercedes Monday, and when are they going to do it? Are they going to do it all in? Are they going to do it? And I'm like, guys, I think you might need to pump them brakes on Athena being pushed as one of the top women's wrestlers in AEW, because
I don't know.
They haven't yet. And I don't know that they are going to. So maybe.
Well, listen, if that happens, great. Let's talk about Athena. Here's my problem with all the Athena praise. These better be the best 7-minute ROH TV matches that have ever. These matches better be the most spectacular 7-minute matches of all time. She doesn't do anything. She wrestles on ROH for 8,000 subscribers and has 7-minute matches.
8,000.
Whatever the fuck. I mean, it's crazy. I agree. Put her on AEW. I don't have a problem with that. But my God. And then these pay-per-view matches, they're either egregiously long.
They've not been great. They haven't.
Or the one at Final Battle, which fucking stunk.
Yeah, brutal.
Which fucking stunk. Okay? I'm tired of hearing about Athena. Maybe 2023. Maybe. 2024, Athena, you're holding on to an old-ass take if you think she's been one of the best wrestlers in the world. Okay? We don't vote on box office draw anymore. What about my boy Vampiro? Listen, Lucha Blog wrote about this.
Yeah, he's got a sneaky case.
All the fucking retirement tour, selling out all those cities that they go to. So only half tongue in cheek.
Every time he comes to the same city again for his third or fourth retirement stop in this town, but it draws every time.
Yeah. Let's bounce around. Feud of the year is going to be Punk and Drew, and it's going to make me vomit.
Mm-hmm. There's almost no point voting for that. That one's going to win in a landslide. That sucks.
It's going to be Punk and Drew over the fucking charm bracelet, which just makes you sick. It just fucking makes you sick. There's Swerve and Hangman. My vote would be Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher. That's my vote for Feud of the Year.
Yeah, I don't know that I have a good. Yeah, I don't know if I have a real good one. There hasn't been a feud that's really landed with me this year. I guess Swerve and Hangman to a point, but then that got a little goofy. Every feud this year that I feel like I've watched has gotten kind of goofy. I guess Fletcher and Ospreay hasn't gotten goofy, so that's kind of cool. Reading that, there's not one that speaks to me right away. Feud of the year, you know what I mean? Like I don't know that there's one that really. Yeah, there's not one that really lands with me, to be honest. So I'd probably just.
How about Athena and her minions?
Oh fuck no! Fuck no! No.
We still giving most improved to our boy Daga.
Yeah, he got. Yeah. Why not? Daga or like Obafemi or one of those kind of guys. I think you could have, but Daga was like the shit, and now he's pretty okay. So I'll go to Daga.
How about Braun Breaker?
Yeah, is he that much more improved? I don't know if he's that much more improved. He's a little. I don't know
if he's that much more improved, but I think he's clearly improved.
He's better.
Because he was overrated in NXT. That's the thing. So to me, he's improved. But I don't know. Like Daga went from just the jaggiest jag ever to a guy who was having pretty good matches.
Right. And being generic for like 6 years. Like the guy was generic for a long time and then all of a sudden got good. So that's where I go to.
But I don't know if that's who, like the spirit of it, if you want to find someone who was like great, who wasn't great before, might be more what the intent of this thing is when it comes to most improved.
I bet like Kyle Fletcher's going to get a bunch of votes. You know what I mean?
Which is crazy.
The chat room exactly at the same time I said it, they just said it, which is insane. Like Kyle Fletcher should never, ever, ever, because you're not watching. That tells me that you did not watch Kyle Fletcher.
How about Luke Jacobs?
See, I think Luke was really good, but he got great this year, so that's not a bad shout.
Because the difference between Luke Jacobs and a guy like Daga is you have a guy who was good, who's now having great matches, or you have a guy who was like below average and is like a little better than average now. So where do you want to go with that? You know what I mean? Like Daga's a nice little wrestler, but he's not as good of a wrestler as Luke Jacobs.
Right. He went from bad to like adequate / good, whereas these guys we're talking about here got to like from Finley. You know what? Great. David Finley.
Finley's a great one.
That might be the one.
He's a great one.
That might be the one that I do.
I think Finley might be it. Because, again, here's someone who was always a good worker, but now he's having great matches.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that might be more of the spirit of this thing than finding someone who was dog shit who's now passable. Right?
Right.
Like last year it was Julia Hart, Dominic, and Mariah May, and Shota Umino. That's just people who were dog shit who were then passable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather find somebody like David Finley or Luke Jacobs who are like having great matches. Who, we always talked about David Finley could never find that final gear. Well, he found it this year. So anyway, that's probably the direction I will go. How about Willow Nightingale for most improved?
That's a good one. Yeah, that's good. I saw some people mention her as the women's MVP as well. That definitely works too. If you want to go that way.
The women's MVP, I'm just taking people's word on Sari, so that's why I stayed out of it. I could name a bunch of Americans, but because here's the thing, because I don't watch Joshi, I really should stay out of those conversations because I'm not watching where the best women's wrestling is happening. So you don't have to have an opinion on everything. You know what I mean? Like my opinion isn't very valuable. So I stay out of it. These are always so hard, like the best technical wrestler. Best brawler,
at this point, I kind
of
of got sick of doing these ones. I don't really do these ones anymore.
I mean, it's
because best
got to be Saber.
It's like best brawler. I'm like, I don't know. I just always voted like Eddie Kingston or whatever. Just said, fine, can move on. I don't care.
Yeah, it's got to be Sabre for technical. Best flying wrestler who, like, if you want to get different, do like Neon.
Leon Slater.
You don't like
Leon Slater is going to be my vote for that.
Leon Slater's a good one, yeah. Kevin Knight.
Knight is spectacular.
Kevin Knight. So if you want to think outside the box, because Vikingo was hurt all year, you really can't turn to him.
Yeah, every time he flew, he blew his knee out, so that doesn't quite work.
Yeah, you got to leave him out of it. Phoenix too has been out of the mix. Commander got to be in the conversation. You know what? I like Commander for most improved too. I didn't think much of him for a long time, and I thought he had a pretty good year. Yeah, best brawler. I don't know. Maybe the Saitos again. Maybe Go Shiozaki with those older guys just mucking it up. To think about that. Most overrated. Who was overpushed this year? I could turn
Solo Sikoa. Solo Sikoa.
Got to be Solo, right? Has to be.
I mean, it has to be. You don't understand the award. You don't understand the award if you don't vote for Solo Sikoa.
Right. It's got to be.
Like, you just don't understand the award. You don't get it. You don't understand what it means.
Yeah.
No one has been more overpushed than Solo Sikoa. There's nobody.
I mean, Shota Umino, but that came on late. And he didn't bomb until after the calendar changed. I would love to vote for Mariah May. I would love to. She stinks. But the thing is, she did some good things and was over to some degree. Yeah, but you know what? But so was Solo.
It's got to be Solo. It's got to be Solo.
I want it to be Mariah May. But I guess it has to be Solo. There's no like Tyrus. That's another obvious.
Yeah.
Like, he was a pretty easy pick some years. Trying to think outside the box here.
A lot of MJF in our chat room. MJF. That's not.
Nah, it's a bridge too far.
Yeah.
That's a bridge too far. He's No, that's still a bridge too far for me, for MJF. I haven't loved his work, but you have to push him. I mean, he's MJF. Most underpushed. This is the Shelton Benjamin Memorial Award.
Yeah, they really should name it after him.
From decades ago. Who was
It was always Cesaro, and then Cesaro won it for like 9 straight years or whatever.
Times.
There was a long time where, it was just Cesaro or Shelton Benjamin every single year for the most underrated. Last year it was Chad Gable. I don't think
he got pushed this year.
I don't think it's Takeshita. Yeah, Takeshita was a winner in 2022.
And Daniel Garcia. All those guys are pushed this year, so you can't really turn to those three. So,
most underpushed.
Is there someone in Japan?
Most underpushed. Yeah, I'm struggling with this one this year. I'm trying to think of who didn't.
How about Kento Miyahara?
Why you should just always be champion?
That's a sneaky one, though.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not the traditional kind of pick.
Yeah. I think I don't know if that's in the spirit of the award. I don't think that's in the spirit of the award. Michael brings up a good one. Brody King. Left Said Fred says Mark Briscoe. Mark Briscoe might be a good shout.
Yeah, he's going to be forever the guy who's more over than his push.
Yeah.
Talked about that on the TV review. About Sandokan Jr.
Sandokan. Wow. What do you want people to do with Sandokan Jr.? What do you want him to?
Can't get out of the second match.
That's true. That's true. He should be higher than that. This one's tough. Usually it's easy for me, like who's been really screwed over by the booking, but I don't know that anybody really stands out to me right away.
Yeah, I'm thinking hard. I'm struggling with
this. Sue Williams got a good one here. Bianca Belair is a good shout. Stuck in a dog shit tag team.
Hey, that's the uncrowned tag team of the year.
So. Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, right. The uncrowned tag team.
The fuck are they thinking?
Oh, my God. All those great matches. All of them.
Yeah.
We're just about out of time
So,
again here on this show, so I'd love to go over them again. We'll have to do it next week, I'm sure.
Non-wrestler Paul Heyman will probably win it. Don Callis, Paul Heyman, and Prince Nana last year. Can we think of anyone who might deserve to be in the mix?
Come up in there and steal that.
We really can't. I mean,
no.
Stokely doesn't do enough.
No.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to give it to Rock's kid. She's the Pits.
Oh, Ava. No, God, no, you're not going to give it to Ava. Jesus Christ. No, it's going to be Callis or Heyman or
yeah, it's going to be the same three,
yeah.
probably. I mean, and again, we're not going to do all these. Worst television show has to be NXT. I'm sorry. It's until it doesn't exist anymore. I'm voting for NXT.
I think this is going to be the first year. WWE has won this award, I think, like every... which is worst television show. Okay. Power. NWA Power won it in last year. So Monday Night Raw won it from 2014 to 2022. So I don't think Raw's winning again. I wonder if this is the first year that an AEW show gets it. Do you think like Collision or Rampage gets this slot?
Maybe Rampage could. I don't think. I mean, if Collision gets it, that's not fair at all.
No, Collision's fine. Rampage, that's an interesting. I like most Rampages, but I could see people doing a vote for them. It's not going to be Raw. It's not going to be SmackDown. We know that. It's not going to be NXT.
It should be NXT.
Well, you're on an island. Apparently, you're on an island for some reason because a lot of people that are smart seem to like NXT. I don't know why.
Came in third last year for worst.
Oh, maybe there's some hope then. Maybe some hope alive in this world.
What was best television show last year? I think I skipped that. I don't see it. Fuck is it?
Best weekly TV show last year was Dynamite.
Did NXT finish top 3?
I'm on their Wikipedia. I'm not on the. I don't see the voting results. Sorry.
I think he skipped best television show in the list of awards because I don't see it. Wait, maybe it's higher up on the list. Is it a Category A award?
Yeah.
It was Dynamite, Collision, and SmackDown. So, yeah, I don't know how much of an island I'm on because it finished top 3 worst and didn't finish top 3 best. I think the discerning wrestling fan thinks NXT is dog shit.
I think this year's going to change. I think it's going to be very different. We'll see.
I don't think it'll win. The problem is Power is too low profile.
No one's going to vote for Power anymore. Nobody cares about Power. Yeah.
So it's going to have to be. So what's it? What's it going to be? It's not going to be Raw or SmackDown.
I think it's going to be Rampage. I bet it'll be Rampage.
It'll probably be Rampage, just because they'll want to vote for an AEW show, but they can't in good conscience vote for the other two. So, who's your booker?
Best booker.
Talk about a hard one.
Yeah, nobody. Abstain.
Fuck that. I'll go with Go Shiozaki for the limit break.
Yeah,
shows.
fuck yeah. You know what? You're right.
Why not?
Goddamn right. Yeah, that's what I'm voting for. Yeah, why not? There's not a lot of other. This has been a year where I have not been happy with any booking. In 2024, I hated most bookers in the fucking world. I thought every booker in the world stunk last year. So at least all the major companies. Yeah, I thought AEW's bookers stunk. I thought Paul Levesque stunk. I thought All Japan mostly was, fine, but not, and then CMLL was good, but not great. Noah Nasawa most of the time stunk. Yeah, let's go with Go Shiozaki, limit break.
Who the hell is Juan Manuel Mar? Is that the legit name of the guy that books? I forget his name, his gimmick name. The CMLL booker.
Yeah, I don't know.
That Cubs told everybody.
Oh, Stigma. Isn't that Stigma? Isn't that guy? No. What's that guy's name?
It was shit. The chat will know. But I wonder if that's who. I don't know.
Panico. I looked it up. Right
Panico.
Panico.
Is that
yeah.
Panico's name?
Juan Manuel Mar. Yeah, is Panico.
Is Panico? Okay.
Because that's who they told everybody to vote for, right? Even though
that's who Cubs told everyone should get the most credit.
Yeah. Okay.
So he was the one everybody voted for. I guess his real name is Juan Manuel Mar. Because he finished third last year. But I feel like the time for them to win was last year.
Right. I don't think they had
that wasn't it. They had their more momentum than they do this year. It's going to be Levesque. I don't even know why.
Oh yeah, I know. Of course it will.
Yeah. So Worst gimmick, Mariah May. Well, no. I guess it has to be. What's worse, Mariah May or Wyatt Six?
The Wyatt Six has to be worse. Yeah,
I don't know.
I think Adam Cole. It's just Adam Cole existing is the worst.
Adam
gimmick
Cole's
for me. Yeah. Adam Cole's continued existence in AEW is my worst gimmick.
Yeah.
Whatever his gimmick is. Yeah, the Wyatt Six is a good shout, but Adam Cole, hi, I'm flabby and pale, and I look like I can't fucking break a fucking balloon, but here I am back on AEW television fighting for a title, and I'm going to rant about how MJF is a bad guy. And what the fuck's happening here? No, that's my worst feud of the year for sure. If that's they don't even vote for that anymore, right? Worst feud of the year, that's done. I have to make sure that somehow the MJF Adam Cole thing gets in the worst something. So
no, there's a worst feud of the year.
Oh,
Last year was MJF versus the Devils, and
let's do it again. All right,
Tyrus
run it
versus
back.
EC3.
Run it back. MJF versus Adam Cole. Let's run it back.
The worst feud of the year is Mariah May versus Tony Storm.
That's pretty bad too. Yeah.
I gotta find something to give Mariah May. I can't stand her.
You gotta find something. Yeah.
Anyway, we don't need to go through all these. So that's unless you have strong feelings on something I skipped.
I guess the only one I would say my favorite one every single year is the most disgusting promotional tactic award. I don't. There's a good. There's a good list. Somewhere there's a good list. I forget about a lot of the stuff.
Yeah. I forget about them too.
There's got to be. There was one earlier in the year. What am I thinking of here that really? Shit, it's too late in the day.
Yeah.
I got to figure out. There's a list. I want to say somewhere. I think it was on the Observer board or something. Someone's got a running list. I'm trying to think off the top of my head. I mean, it's too chalk to just go with Saudi Arabia or whatever. But the best part about this is the murderer's row of WWE.
You're already whitewashing it.
I already am. Sports washing works. The murderer's row of WWE wins here. Okay. 2017. Well, actually, it goes back even further than that. 2014. I'll start with 2014. Insulting fans who purchase pay-per-views, which is great. Remember when they would be like, JBL would be like, Michael, I heard there's some idiots out there that are paying us $60 for these pay-per-views. What are they doing, Michael? They can get these for $9.99. That was the best. They would go on the air and tell you, I can't believe these dumbass idiots are paying us $60. What are they doing, Michael? It's like, okay. All right. I don't know if I would do that, but anyway, they did that. 2015, using Reed Flair's death in an angle. Not great. Briefly interrupted by the Kimbo versus Dada 5000 fight where didn't one or both men die immediately after? Or Kimbo died.
They're both dead. They're both dead.
Jesus Christ. 2017, promoting Jimmy Snuka as a hero in death not long after his trial over the death of Nancy Argentino. 2018-2019, relationship with Saudi Arabia. 2020-21, firing people during a global pandemic while setting record profits. 2022, Vince McMahon appearing on television for a crowd pop after sexual misconduct allegations came out. 2023, by the way, I now know my 2024 vote. WWE enabling Vince McMahon and him being in power and TKO keeping him in a position of power. 2023. 2024 is Dom Mysterio showing nudes of Liv to all the people backstage in the midst of the Vince McMahon WWE lawsuit, which Janelle Grant.
Yeah, mirroring what
right.
Vince did to Janelle Grant. Yeah,
that's it, right?
Yeah, it's a good one.
That's gotta be it.
Yeah, there's so many ways to go with WWE. It's hard to choose.
Robert says Paul Heyman using the war in Gaza to hype up Roman Reigns was a bad one that a lot of people forgot. Why? I don't remember that at all. He used the war in Gaza to hype up Roman Reigns. Okay, I'm sure it happened. I'm sure it happened. Who am I to doubt that? But I don't remember. How that all came up.
I don't know.
What context was that in?
I know he might.
Good
he could be making
Lord.
it up for all I know. I don't remember.
Good Lord.
I don't know. I stay out of that. Don't ask me anything about that. Nothing about it. I don't know nothing.
Yeah, I think Dom being like, "Hey, look at these nudes here," just completely mirroring what Vince did, allegedly in the Janelle Grant lawsuit.
So what's the AAA milking dementia reading Vampiro?
Not bad. Not bad.
Not bad. Yeah, it's not bad.
It's not a bad one. I love how innocent. I love how innocent they all were. They used to be. These ones used to be. My favorite's the the best. There's a lot of like really bad ones, and then they get like. So you get World Class. They had a quite the run of them. I thought they did quite well for a number of years. I did that. Talked about one of them this year during the Christmas with the Captain, talking about Fritz von Erich's fake heart attack. But you have 1984 Blackjack Mulligan's fake heart attack in Championship Wrestling from Florida. World Class 4 straight years, usage of Mike Von Erich's near death to sell tickets. 1986, comparing Chris Adams' blindness angle with the death of Gino Hernandez. 1987, the exploitation of the death of Mike Von Erich. And then 1988, Fritz Von Erich faking a heart attack. Then it gets a little worse, too. You get 1989, Jose Gonzalez babyface push 1 year after Bruiser Brody's stabbing in World WWC. Then 1990, Atsushi Onita stabbed by Jose Gonzalez 2 years after the Bruiser Brody stabbing. Not great. 1991, exploiting the Persian Gulf War. And then I love the whiplash to 1992, pushing Eric Watts from WCW. It's like Jose Gonzalez being pushed after murdering somebody. The Gulf War, Fritz exploiting his children's death. And then Bill Watts pushing his bad son.
Yeah.
1993 was Cactus Jack Gets Amnesia, so I wonder if Tony Storm fake amnesia would be a good one to put up there.
I mean, I'm all for it.
I think it's got to be that Dom thing. So that's my favorite award every single year. So I make sure to vote every year just so I definitely get in there. So all
right, that's all I got for these awards.
All right, we'll do the WrestleMania weekend thing. We got plenty of fucking time. The big news, I guess, real quickly, is that the Collective has now WrestleCon has joined the Collective. So WrestleCon, the Mark Hitchcock Memorial Super Show, is now part of the Collective. Will be taking place at the Pearl Theater at Palms Casino Resort, and presumably will be available on Triller TV powered by Fight or whatever. So that I guess is the big news.
They've joined forces.
They have joined forces, yeah. And
I have. This is just too much. I have to say this on the air. All right, so today on the Thursday Dynamite review, Rich Craich, I revealed that there is a YouTube video on AEW's YouTube page, 5 hours and 30 minutes chronicling the Brochacho saga. Okay.
Do not like.
So do not like. And I noted that on the Thursday TV review. Our pal Dr. Keith sent a message in the comments saying, "Thank you, Joe. I now know what I will be doing for the next 5 hours and 47 minutes.
Okay. 25,000
viewers can't be wrong." To which, I sent a joking reply. 5 hours and 47 minutes later,
no.
Dr. Keith replies in all caps, "They don't even have the final match on here, cowards."
Damn it. Why?
He really watched it.
Oh my God! Why did he do that?
What is he doing? Absolutely psychotic. He wasn't just doing a bit. He watched it. He watched the video, Rich. This man has children.
He does.
Did they get their dinner? Were they tucked in the bed properly?
I don't think they need to get. Well, they're pretty. I don't think that's. They're pretty old. I don't think they have to get tucked into bed anymore by Dr. Keith. But.
They're 32 years old. That's not the point.
They're not quite that old, but I'm pretty sure they don't have to get tucked in.
This man, 5 hours and 47 minutes later, reported back that they didn't have the final blow-off match.
Oh my God!
He really watched it, Rich Craig.
I'm gonna have to confront him next time I see him in person. Because that
1 hour ago,
no normal human should do that.
1 hour ago, I guess he was in the midst of it. He said, "Better than you, baby." # double clothesline.
Double clothesline.
He watched it.
There were honest to God people that argued with us that this was good at the time. And I know those, and we know those people, and I have receipts. I've done it on the Discord recently. I've because then people being like, "Oh, it wasn't that many. Everybody knew," and I was like, No. We lost subscribers. in mass.
Yeah.
When we dared to say, I don't know if this is very good. I think this kind of sucks here.
Rich, the math adds up. He sent the first message 7 hours ago and the final message 52 minutes. He literally went and watched it when he said, that's crazy. He sat through that.
Yeah, people think he like put an alarm or something like that. No, I know Dr. He probably said, you know what, fuck it. Let me watch this whole stupid thing.
No, I think he watched that shit.
Yeah.
He was sending comments all through. Absolutely psychotic. Dr. Keith, that's absolutely psychotic. How would he know the final match wasn't on there if he didn't really watch?
That's what a lifetime in professional wrestling will do to somebody.
Yeah.
Somebody, especially working in the business, like not only he went from podcasting about the business to working in the business. So of course your brain would be fried. And you would then watch a 5.5 hour MJF Adam Cole compilation.
Thank you, Joe. I now know what I will be doing for the next 5 hours and 47 minutes.
100% alcohol. Kangaroo kick. God.
The fucking inflatable alligator.
Fuck.
Crikey.
Yeah. Big show
Chinese
in the fishing
food too
boat.
spicy.
Yeah.
How about the trampoline? The trampoline
Puff,
part.
or the one with Puff. Remember? And
Puff,
that
yeah.
you were right on it because that first one out of the gates, you're like, this fucking sucks. This is terrible. What are we doing here? And everyone's like, Joe, come on. It's just fun. They're just being fun. You're like, no, I don't like where this is going. I don't like this.
I know where this is going. Yep.
It was Puff.
As soon
Because that
as
was the first one, right? They went to the gym and Puff was there. And they're like, look at this guy. He's fat.
Mm-hmm. Well, as soon as they used the phrase brochachos, I knew it was trouble.
Right.
In fact, I believe I have the title of that review, I think, is Brochachos ? I knew that was trouble. When he used the term brochachos, I knew it was bad news. What about when they went fishing and caught the Big Show?
Yeah. God.
Wearing his gear from wasn't he wearing the gear from the Water Boy?
Yeah, Captain Insano. He was wearing his Captain Insano.
So funny. I've never laughed harder.
Oh my God. These guys. So funny. And then it all results in a match where MJF says, if the title means that much to you, just take it. And
Just
I was
take
like,
it.
I was like, fuck
Just take
you. Fuck this and fuck you.
Oh, go fuck yourself. It's so bad.
I thought you were my friend. If you wanted so bad, just take it. I was like, fuck this.
Can I vote that worst feud of the year, even though it was the year before?
Sure, yes, always. Yes, because it's still around. No, you can.
It just ended.
Going.
It ended a month
It's
ago.
still going. Yes, it just ended. You, of course, can vote for it still. It just ended at World's End. Maybe.
I
Hopefully.
think that's the vote.
Mercifully.
Yeah.
Left Said Fred is coming out with a lot of the indie ones here. Destiny Wrestling books Marty Scurll as a mystery opponent for Alexander Hammerstone without informing the fans or the locker room. Indie promoter releases seemingly legit missing person alerts for Journey Fought 2 as part of an angle during the North Carolina natural disaster. I forgot about that one.
Was that promotion in North Carolina, though?
I forget where they were. I thought it was California. So that's not.
Then you know what? I don't know.
Yeah. Indie promotion Circle 6. I don't remember this at all. Indie promotion Circle 6 books deathmatch that ends with wrestler getting briefly trapped in a legitimate burning casket. That sounds like exactly like Circle 6. Yeah.
That's like not a promotional tactic, though. That's just like
That's just a normal
they
day.
almost killed someone.
Yeah.
They almost killed someone. Yeah. Yeah.
Do we need to be locking people in caskets and burning them on fire while people are in them, like legit in them? What are we doing?
No, we don't need to.
The fuck are you doing? Jesus.
Well, you know how I feel about all those promotions. It's just
Yeah.
a whole bunch of shit. Was never into that.
Speaking of Marty Scurll, he is. Did you know he's booked real quickly? WrestleMania weekend. He is booked on this incredible show, Fighting Evolution Wrestling Sin City Burn. By the way, full card already ready to go, and it is a doozy. They have everybody. 11 p.m. Pacific time. You have Zicky Dice and Elijah Burke. Marty Scurll versus Kenny King, King. Lindsay Dorado versus Sydney Akeem. Cassandra Golden versus Kalia Capri, whatever. Chandler Hopkins versus Jay Rios. Remember Jay Rios? That Jay Rios?
I do.
The one that, yeah. I guess if you book one canceled guy, you may as well book them all. You know what I mean? Like, people are already mad at your show anyway. Might as well keep going. Leroy Jones versus AJ Francis. And, Joe, there will be a $500 twerk off contest during the show as well. I believe that is
with
also
all those with all those men you just named.
Yes,
they're going to be doing the twerking.
I don't know who's twerking, but also I believe the poster says. Let me see. Somewhere it says. Okay, which is good. This is an 18 or older event. There will be topless bottle hostesses walking around serving bottomless tequila and rum for VIPs and buddy pass holders. So the twerk off is open to the public. Anybody 18 plus can join the twerk off. By the way, I'm not making any of this up. How can I make this up? How is this possible? Topless hostesses serving bottomless tequila.
Well, you know,
you can
you're
get
going to
Marty.
book a show like that. I think you may as well just push all the chips on the table, right? I mean,
right. Call Teddy Hart. Why not?
Yeah. I mean,
Go for
get
it.
them all down there.
Once you get Jay Rios and Marty, just go for it. Just get everybody. Sabu, Teddy, just go down the Rolodex. Whoever you got,
and then let the free market speak. Right? I don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to say. Like,
there's not. It's it's a great one. It's who was the UK guy that got milkshake ducked within like 0.2 seconds of standing up after speaking out?
The guy that Rev used to book. He had a lot of potential too. I forget, but they get El Ligero on there.
El Ligero, yeah. It's just really NXT UK. You could just really go through NXT UK and
you could just say NXT UK. Right?
The stars of NXT UK will be here too.
Right. Just that's all you need to put on there. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, the guy we're talking about, the milkshake talk, and then we'll get out of here, was the guy who speaking out was happening in real time, and he was like, yeah, it's good we're shining a light on this stuff. Like, I'm sick of, all this stuff.
Yeah, it was like something specific too. He's like, yeah, I know stuff that guy did too. And then literally 30 seconds later, someone replies to him saying, oh yeah, well, you did this to me, and had a story about him.
Yeah.
And then he deactivated.
And never heard from him again. It was
never heard from him again. He still hasn't been. He's just gone. He's like, well, I guess they got me.
Yeah.
That was the end of that.
Fuck. All right. That's enough.
What the hell was his name? He was
it's kind of a beefy guy, like a beefy
Rev Pro, like Power Junior.
Yeah. I don't remember his name.
I really enjoyed his work. It's it's a shame because a lot of these canceled guys are like good wrestlers. Like
that's why I think if you're gonna go at it with Sin City Burn, whatever the hell, David Starr
Richards out there.
Get David Starr out there. Get Rory Gulak might be a little too far. That might be a bridge too far. That one might be too much. Yeah. Bring Drew Gulak out there. David Starr versus Drew Gulak. That's fine. You can do that. Joey Ryan. I'll keep Joey Ryan on the side. I'm good on that.
This bit's gonna turn bad.
You don't want to get too far. Yeah.
This bit's gonna turn bad. So it's time to pump the brake. What the fuck was that guy's name? The Rev program.
I don't know. I was hoping the chat room was gonna get us, but he was. I tried to look up Speaking Out NXT UK. That did not help at all. That just gave me a lot of names. So,
yeah, that's not good.
It did not specify.
Because he got in trouble early. Remember, he shot on that referee and stomped a mud hole in him and got suspended once. And then
yeah.
He was and he got thrown off that Japan tour. Remember, they sent him to Japan and he did something stupid in Japan. Josh Bodum, right?
Josh Bodum. Yeah, he put his ass in like the ice cream or something like that, didn't he? Like,
yeah. Josh Bodum.
Josh Bodum.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was the most incredible. Like 15. It didn't take. It took like literally 11 minutes for him to be like, yeah, it's about time. It's about time everybody got it. And I know about this guy, and it's about time people shine a light on him, and I'm sick of him ruining the locker rooms and all that sort of stuff. And the person's like, what about this? Isn't it you? And he was like, well, bye.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, that's it.
And he left. And that was the end of Josh Bodum.
All Japan. He got thrown off that All Japan tour.
Yeah. He put his didn't he open up an ice cream cooler and sit in it or something like that? It's like, what are you doing?
I don't know if he's the guy who was fucking around in the convenience store and being a jackass, or if he's the guy who broke the window. There was someone who broke a window around that time too, who got sent home. I don't know which one he was. But he got
ice cream guy or broken window guy, but yeah.
Right. He was what? Yeah. He was yeah. Either way. short-lived, and that was it for Bodum. Yeah,
I forgot about the referee.
He
He did the thing where he beat up the referee too. Yeah, he's probably not long for this business.
He wrestled after.
Did he?
Speaking Out. Yeah, Speaking Out was in like June of 2019, right?
2020. June of 2020.
Oh, 2020. All right, never mind. 2020. Yeah, no.
He was done.
He was done. He was already being sat out. And then, because he wrestled September 2019, and I was thinking that was after.
No. Yeah, June 2020.
Yeah.
All right. So there you go. It's a brief look at WrestleMania Weekend. We'll check in again with WrestleMania Weekend as we get a little bit closer. But that's it for us here on the Flagship. As we mentioned, Flagship, Patreon.com. Oh, Ham wins the poll. 53% for Ham, 47% for Turkey. So good job out of Ham. Rallying there. It was 50-50 for a long time, but then Ham got a nice little run at the late stages of the show. So congratulations to Ham. Declared better than Turkey. But flagshippatreon.com for all of our bonus audio, all of the additional audio that we talked about, instant reaction lives, written content, Thursday Dynamite review, tour of the territories, a lot of other stuff up there for you right now at flagshippatreon.com. So prediction show, 2025 prediction show coming this weekend as well. So still some chance to get your predictions in for the weekend. Just go to flagshippatreon.com and you'll see all the information about that. One of the cool things we've been doing as well, if you were listening to this, we now have free previews of some of our shows. So Joe, you started this with the Thursday Dynamite review. It's a good time to actually mention this, that if you sign up flagshippatreon.com and you say, I'm just going to go with the free tier, I'll just see kind of what you guys have. You are going to get a brief little clip of the show, a little bit of an overview of what you talked about on the show on the Thursday Dynamite review. So just a little way to say, okay, yeah, this sounds good. This sounds like something I would like to listen to, and then you can upgrade and do all that sort of stuff. So that is available on our free tier, flagshippatreon.com, if you want to join in on that. Voicesofwrestling.com, previews, reviews, and columns of all the stuff that we talked about today as well. Also, voicesofwrestling.com/Discord. If you want to join our Discord and join the conversation. So that is it for us. That is Joe. I'm Rich. We'll talk to you guys next time. Take care.
Hey everybody, my name is Jesse Collings, and I want to tell you all about my show, the Gentleman's Wrestling Podcast, here on the Voices of Wrestling Podcast Network. On the Gentleman's Wrestling Podcast, we do a thorough analysis on the biggest issues and trends within the pro wrestling industry. We talk a lot about pro wrestling media, we talk a lot about fan culture and wrestling's place within general pop culture, and we talk about the broader influences that are shaping the way we discuss and analyze the pro wrestling industry. We've had some of the brightest minds in the pro wrestling intelligentsia on the show, including WrestleNomics host Brandon Thurston, both Rich Craich and Joe Lanza from the Flagship Wrestling Podcast, Trevor Dame from the Through the Years podcast, and a whole lot more. This isn't a show for hot takes. It's not a show recapping the latest episode of television. This is a show focusing on the biggest topics in pro wrestling and doing a deep dive on the real stories behind the surface level analysis you might find elsewhere. The Gentleman's Wrestling Podcast is available wherever you get your podcasts, and we'd really appreciate it if you gave us a try. Thanks.